Good morning, everybody. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. And I hear an echo, just a second. Forget to turn off our number. And with me here this morning is Mike. Good morning. You're muted.
Hello.
Hello.
Too many buttons to press.
Yeah, too many buttons. Our number is 919-518-9773 or Computers 2K Voice on Skype.
And if you guys don't call in and participate, this is going to be a long show.
Yep. You better call in and participate. Before some announcements, today's show is being brought to you by thatvidblasterguy.com, Tom Sinclair, and by Adamus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. And today is May 25th, 2014. Happy birthday, Hannah. Got an email from Bruce yesterday that he is probably not going to be a regular anymore because he accepted an additional job. I didn't understand if it was additional or
Yes.
a different one. Yeah. Additional job that will make it impossible for him to do it. So as time goes on,
only so many hours in a day.
Yep. So we'll see. We're going to find somebody to replace him. Don't worry.
He will be hard to replace.
He will be. The dedication there was really amazing.
Well, it really is because, I mean, you guys see us each week and sort of get an idea of who we are and what we do, but Bruce has so much going on in his life. It was a major commitment for him to be here every week, and we really appreciate him doing that, and he had become an integral part of the show, and he will be missed, but if he doesn't call in periodically, we're going to send Andrew Zarian out there to shake him out of his tree.
No, and we wish him good luck at that job. I mean, it sounds like a very important thing.
It is, but Bruce succeeds at everything he does.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he doesn't need good luck. He just needs to do what he does so well.
Yep. So, and Nick is got a cold. He said he was going to call in, but I told him he really needs to let his body rest.
Yeah, you could hear him going downhill yesterday.
Yep. So this is why Mike was talking about that. If you're not going to call in and participate, this is going to be a long show. Maybe it'll be a short show, too.
There you go. Well, it is a holiday weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are out. So, hi, Brent, Dr. John, RTP, Uber Geek, Gags, Mike, again, and Andrew. Andrew is already... Andrew, you should sleep a little bit, too, you know.
He doesn't sleep.
Especially after what you're doing every...
But see, you're missing the point. Sleeping cuts into drinking time.
He's not that bad.
I don't know.
He manages, though. I mean,
well,
you really need to know Andrew good to know if he's overdoing it or not. I mean, you can't tell much. And that shows somebody who can hold his liquor. Hey, Tim, good morning. So anyway, the biggest problem that on the net that was this week was about eBay.
Again.
Do what?
Again. I mean, it's a new new one every day who's got to change your password. All these major websites.
Yeah, but I don't remember eBay ever be in that.
That's not the point. The point is it's eBay, it's credit card, it's this, it's that. Gee whiz.
Yep. They got hacked, and as a matter of fact, if you are an eBay user, you will see that notice on the sign-up screen that tells you you need to change the password.
And every time you see it, you don't need to change it. It's a banner on the website.
Right. If you are security conscious, as many of us, it can become a nuisance because you say, well, did you not change it? Don't you know that I already done it? But you need to change your password. Because remember one thing. If you're on eBay and you're a buyer, there is a PayPal account probably attached to it. And depending how you have it, they'll be able to go in, buy something, and pay with your credit card. I don't know that they'll be able to. Mike, did you ever try to put in this is a gift, and will it let you mail it to somewhere else?
No.
I never tried that.
No, I've never tried it.
I actually like the fact that it will only send it to you. Everything has to be mailed to you, to the address on record. But I'm sure they have ways to do whatever it takes to make that money from you, because that's what they're there for, to make money.
That's a fact.
Yep. So really, I mean, do it and put a strong password. I mean, in this case, it wouldn't matter if you had a strong password or not, because somebody broke in and got a hold of the database.
Mm-hmm. But I think it serves to underscore the differences here, in that if you get a notice from Adobe that your password's been hacked, who cares? What are they going to do, log in and post as you?
Yeah, well.
On a forum?
Yeah. But
when you talk about eBay, PayPal, credit card, bank, that's different.
Right.
Those are the ones you absolutely need to take seriously.
Very, very. Yep. The service that I use for Delta Force for doing the credit card billing, Hannah does it, the billing every month. It's driving her crazy because we use it once a month. And every time you log in, you have to change the password. I mean, she's got a system of how to do it, but it is, they're taking their business seriously. So I like it, and I try to explain to her every time, yep, that's the way it's supposed to be everywhere. But, yeah. If I seem like I'm preoccupied, I'm looking at the audio meter, Mike, and left channel is way higher than the right channel, and I haven't done anything here, and everything looks right. So
I don't know.
I don't know either. Yeah.
You guys listening on the stream, of course, the stream is in mono anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Is the stream audio okay, guys?
It's on the mixer, everything is normal, but that
sounds like a bad cable.
Maybe.
Jeff says the audio is fine, so don't worry about it.
See that? I'm not. I mean, it's just that it's, you know how it is in front of me, and you can't help noticing it. So that's
my picture on the feed looks blurry.
Which feed are you looking on?
I don't know. Let's see which one it would be.
I mean, is there a Vaughn Live
No.
above you? Then it will be blurry.
So Vaughn is the one that's not blurry?
Vaughn is not blurry. I tried, and I wish Andrew would call in, because I tried to stream directly to Daily Motion this morning, and the picture is not as clear as it is on Vaughn. I don't know why. I mean, same bitrate, same thing, same everything with Wirecast, and the text is blurry. So I mean, I was just testing it. So I don't know, but on Vaughn it's okay. The only thing is you have a thing on top of you. That
Yeah, this right above my head.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a little better. I think, I don't know how. Anyway, I just saw a pre-roll ad when I switched over to
Yes.
Vaughn. I saw the pre-roll ad for Netflix, which brings up a point. I'm looking for another series to watch on Netflix. I have completed House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, which was stupid, and Dexter. So now I'm looking for suggestions for new TV series to watch on Netflix, and hopefully it would be something that, well, I don't want something that went off the air 8 years ago, because I don't want to watch SD channels. I mean, that's past that. I can't stomach it. And well, even my wife has become sensitive to it. She can't tell the difference hardly. But one of the suggestion I had was a series called Lilyhammer, which I've never heard of. Another, Brent says The Walking Dead is the best show ever, and I've heard otherwise, but I will check that out. How I Met Your Mother.
Did you
Is
ever
that a
watch
joke?
it? Did you ever watch it?
No.
That's a very good show. I mean, it's
Is it a comedy?
yes.
A sitcom?
Yeah.
Ugh. Trailer Park Boys, is he serious?
I know,
Dr.
but
John, I have seen every episode of 24 except the last two, which I'm waiting for my son-in-law to come over so that we can watch those. We watched the 2-hour series premiere, and it was fair. Chloe looked really bad. Jeff, what genre? I don't know. I'm sort of flexible. Nick keeps hitting on me because of my comments about Dexter. My comments about Dexter is, if you haven't watched it, don't. Because if you start watching Dexter, you will probably want to watch all 96 episodes. And it's pretty bad. I mean, there's some really ugly stuff in it. And I mean, there's no spoiler here. But, I mean, Dexter cuts people up and throws them in the ocean. Not exactly a family-style movie. And you find yourself rooting for the serial killer. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. And Andrew, I did watch it all the way through to the end. I was warned not to watch it through to the end, and I disagree with those people who said that it's got a horrible ending. I think if you have an idea what the ending is, it's not so bad. I think if you don't know that the show is ending, if you were not aware that it was the last episode, I think it's like anything, it could catch you off guard. But I had gone on to the internet and done some research into some of the characters, and when I did, I happened to stumble upon a spoiler about one of the characters. I did not confirm that what I read was correct, but or how that event that was problematic occurred, but I sort of had an idea, and what I suspected to be the case turned out to be true. And I agree with Andrew. If they had done a really good closing episode, then the show should have ended with season 6. They were really on a roll. They were doing pretty well in season 7 and 8. Well, they went really downhill. But you know what? If you've already invested the time in 1 through 6, you're going to probably go ahead and watch 7 and 8. And if you watch season 8, just be prepared that the ending you're not going to like. But if it ameliorates the situation any at all, realize that Michael C. Hall, the star, the guy who was Dexter, was asked whether there would be any other Dexter shows. And his response was, I can't imagine doing that, but never say never. So I don't know. Well, but you know what? After this thing in Dallas where they killed Patrick Duffy off the show, and then the next season or one season he came back and the whole they skipped a season, then they came back with the next season, and they show Patrick Duffy in the shower, and his wife Pam walks in there and realizes that the entire last season was a dream and none of that really happened. So they undid it. And so I don't know. These people can do anything they want. The writing in Dexter was actually pretty good. They were able to drag you down a road and then bring you back without knowing you were being drugged. They were pretty good at the way they manipulate you through the show. Bates Motel, I don't know anything about that one. And isn't that sort of a blood and gore sort of thing, which I'm not interested in any of that right now. That stuff works on your head a little too much. Brent and Tony like The Blacklist. I like The Blacklist as well. I am a gigantic James Spader fan. I think he's probably the best actor in the industry at the moment. That's just my opinion. For what it's worth, I think that whenever you look back at how well he did in Boston Legal, how he would do these rapid. Did you ever watch Boston Legal, Amnon?
In the very early days on TV.
Did you ever see James Spader whenever he would get on one of his rants and he would just go 90 miles an hour and he would attack and turn around and do rapid fire delivery of his dialogue? Did you ever see him do one of those?
I don't remember. I don't
know. I mean, it's worth looking that up. And the question was, the guy has very bad vision. He cannot read the cue cards during the dialogue cue cards during the filming of the shows because his vision is not good enough for what I'm told. He memorizes all of his lines. He actually sits at home at night practicing this rapid fire delivery that he did in Boston Legal. I haven't seen him do that in The Blacklist yet. He's taking it easy. But it's also interesting to note that this lady who plays opposite him in Blacklist, I don't remember her real name. In fact, Liz is her name on the show. That's what it is. He actually was in the media last year complaining that she did not do her homework, that they had to do many retakes of the shoots because she doesn't bother to learn her parts. So he's a perfectionist. He's kind of a jackass, but he's awesome. I mean, he's just awesome. In fact, he was on some talk show a couple of months ago, a guest on one of the talk shows, and he's crazy. I mean, he just doesn't seem normal. He doesn't seem like himself. But when that red light on that camera goes off, he's a master. And I agree with Dr. John. He and William Shatner were magic together. They just were incredible. No question about it. Scandal, that's the other one I was trying to think of. Somebody told me yesterday something that I wrote all this stuff down and I put it on a piece of paper and I can't find it. So I'm asking the same question I've asked before. I'll try to look up Scandal, but Blacklist, we're up to date on that. This is interesting. I'd be interested in what you guys think about it. That I think Blacklist is getting too complicated. When I sit down to watch a TV show, I don't want to have to work to follow what's going on. The dialogue is so fast and so hard to follow at times that we've actually started watching the series with closed captioning. It's amazing what you see in closed captioning that you thought you heard in the dialogue, things that you will totally miss while you're sitting there listening show up in the closed captioning, and it's amazing. So anyway, the business in Blacklist, and I don't want to give away I never like giving away spoilers, and now we can never give away spoilers because people might be watching the show from 6 years ago on Netflix. So if this is 6 years from now and you haven't watched Blacklist yet, I'm not giving away any spoilers, but I think the challenge of who Liz's father is, I think has been worn out. I think that they need to address that storyline and move on to something else because it's frustrating to me. And I mean, some people say, well, we already know the answer to that. Well, I'm not sure that we do. As soon as you think you do, they twist you in circles.
I'm still waiting for Andrew to call in.
All right. So Tim says less blood and gore, more about thinking than Walking Dead, has way more blood than Bates Motel. I wish Bates Motel had more gore. Al Gore?
Huh?
Nothing. I know what my internet usage went up 100 gigabytes a month once I started watching Netflix. Don't like Criminal Minds.
That's all right. By the way, you were dead on the money. I remember that this morning I was dusting off the bases of the monitors and the tops of everything. And I also dusted the top of the audio meter. So I just reached back there and twisted the connectors, the two RCAs, and it's perfect.
Well, good.
So
I see you and my wife are the same. I don't know why you guys go dusting. We've got plenty of dust. We don't need any more.
Ha, ha, ha. I don't like to see dust.
Well, there's Dan Ortego.
Good morning. I'm telling you, it is amazing. I need to do something like this for the house. I wish every house had that. When I go to the colo at TW Telecom, I can open a machine that was not opened in 2 years, 3 years, and there's not a speck of dust in it. But they have a huge filter and air conditioning in that colo space.
But they also do one other thing that people don't pay attention to, and that is they have positive pressure inside the building. And that is they bring in filtered air, so there's no dust in the air they bring in.
Oh.
When they exhaust the air, it's clean air they're exhausting. What happens is that in most homes, you actually have negative pressure inside the house. So when the air seeps through the cracks and the ceiling rafters and the doors and the windows, this is dusty air that is being brought in through the leaks in the house.
So you're supposed to have a filter sitting outside, ducted into the house to build pressure in the house?
I do not. I have actually asked this question of HVAC people, and I've been given the answer, and I don't understand it. My question would be, how do you create positive? Dr. John knows everything. Maybe he can tell us. How do you create positive pressure inside your house so that the air leak is from inside to outside instead of from outside to inside? From what I can tell, the typical HVAC system creates negative pressure inside the house.
And good morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
Thank God.
I'm alive.
Well, good.
I'm here.
So,
you know what's funny, Mike? I've wondered the same exact thing on how I could film this. My house is extremely, extremely dusty. I mean, it's unbearably dusty, and I have to vacuum every single day. No matter how many times I clean, like my bedroom, for example. No matter how many times I vacuum this bedroom, I'll go on my hands and knees, I'll clean all the dust off the floor, everything. Within 2 hours, it's back. And I've been wondering the same thing. I'll run the air conditioner all day, and it won't make a difference.
Well, running the air conditioner may actually be causing the problem instead of solving the problem. I mean, think about it. I mean, again, I understand the concept, but I don't understand the implementation. And that is that if you have a balloon, there's pressure inside the balloon. If you take a pin and prick that balloon, the balloon pops because all that pressure tries to rush out of that little pinhole and it explodes the balloon, right? Sure. The air wants to get out. It wants to escape from the pressure to try to reach equilibrium. So if you have create a negative pressure, even a slightest amount, if the air pressure inside your home, or the barometric pressure inside your home, is lower than it is outside, particularly with tighter homes, any air leaks from outside to inside are going to be dusty air. If the air is brought, I mean, where do you bring outside air into your home anyway? I mean, your HVAC system circulates the internal air.
Right.
So there's not supposed to be any new outside air except when you open doors or if you open windows. And of course, if you open doors or windows, then that equalizes the pressure inside and outside. There's no way for the pressure to build up. But now you have air with dust flowing in and flowing out. What I'm talking about is whenever you have an HVAC system, a closed-loop HVAC system that like John says, that you put an electrostatic filter on your AC, all of the air that's recirculated, the dust will be removed from the air. But if there is negative pressure inside your house, such that and every house has air leaks, even if it's only around the doors, even if it's only when you open the door. But if you have negative pressure inside your house, outside dusty air will be brought into your home, and that air is going to have dust in it until and unless it is circulated or recirculated through your HVAC system that hopefully filters it out. Hello, Merle.
Well, what if you don't have any HVAC system? What if you don't have central AC?
Well, how do you cool your house?
We have
Windows
units. We don't have central AC here.
Well, but how do you? I mean, do you open doors and windows?
Open doors. I open windows. I have wall unit ACs, the big ones in the wall.
Well, that's the same thing, though. I mean, I would think that I don't know how that works. I don't know whether with window units. See, with a window unit, the ones I've seen, you can set them to either recirculate or to bring in outside air.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple window units too.
I have to think about that because you would think a window unit set to bring in outside air would actually increase the pressurization inside and would help deal with the problem, provided that the air that comes through the air conditioner doesn't have dust in it. I don't know. I mean, we're not going to solve it here, but I really am interested in the concept because
you're less likely to have dust in the air coming from outside than you do with the air inside of the house if it's already dusty.
But if you circulate the air inside with a good filter, theoretically, that's going to cause the level to decline. And it's all about a matter of filtration, as John says, whenever you're talking about recirculating the internal air and also bringing in external air. It has to be properly filtered at that point, or you're bringing dust into the house through the air conditioner. These filters that on window units, they're pitiful. I mean, there's nothing good about those filters.
Well, I have a crappy filter, so maybe I should get a really good filter.
Well, I definitely think that if you you got to have a good filter, even if it's on recirculate, because you want it to take the dust out of the air that's in the air.
Right.
And what's really bizarre about my home here is that downstairs, I would say our dust situation downstairs is probably fairly typical of most homes in this region. Upstairs where I am, it's horrible, absolutely horrible. I mean, I'm like you, Andrew, that I could dust, and then by tomorrow I could take a rag and wipe the dust off. My mixer over here, I can every week I can take my finger and run it across the surfaces on the mixer and see the dust on my finger. That's how bad the dust is. It's
always been like that in this house. I remember as a kid, when the sunlight comes in, you can see like the dust in the air.
Mm-hmm.
I remember as a kid looking at it, and it was just so much dust. And it's still like that. And no matter how many times I clean, that dust does not go away.
Amnon, on your magic box that you bought to energize the air, well, I forget what they call the thing now.
Oh, the ozonator.
Does it have any impact on dust?
Not much, because it has a filter on the end where it sucks the air in, but it's just a piece of foam. No, it doesn't. Not that I know of. But let me tell you something. Dr. John was saying electrostatic, and I'm assuming that the electrostatics filter is the one that pops every now and then. Is that what we're talking about? Because I remember when we got the house, I bought one that you inserted in the return. I mean, it's a big unit. It was like about maybe 6 inches deep, and it was 20 by 20. And you cut a hole in the return, and you slide it in there, and it will pop like a static pop every now and then. It did not lower the amount of dust. And actually, you could see more dust, but somebody explained it one time and said what it does is it makes the dust heavy, so it, instead of staying in the air, it falls down. We're talking 15 years ago, Dr. John. Is that true? Is that what happens? Because at that point, maybe it keeps it out of the air so you don't breathe it in, but it does make it settle on flat surfaces, if that's the case.
Well, I can already get it to settling on flat surfaces.
Well, I mean, it'll be more than that. I mean, it was, you see dust and you dust, but this was almost like fine white. It was a lot more than it was, as though you didn't dust for 2 months.
Yeah. Well, if I didn't dust for 2 months here, I could start planting flowers.
And Marilyn was asking about that side-by-side config for Chrome. She can't open Chrome because it says the side-by-side config is incorrect. I just Googled on it, and there's a lot of information of how to fix it. We can't do it here online, but
What are you talking about?
Something about Chrome will not open, and it gives you an error that says the side-by-side config is incorrect. And if you Google on it, it will explain to you what the problem is and how to fix it. I mean, it's a weird...
Oh, I didn't see her comment. I see what you're talking about now.
But just Google on side-by-side config Chrome. And there's actually the first one is from a couple of days ago. So that's fresh stuff there.
And just try using another browser for now.
Yeah. I never seen it. I never heard of it. That's the first time I hear about it.
Yeah.
So I wonder
this time last week, by the way, I was having a lot of flash crashes in Chrome.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about flash crashes.
Yep.
There was a flash update earlier a couple of days ago. Knock on wood, I have not had any crashes since then, so hopefully that was the problem that was corrected.
So what? Hey, Andrew.
Yes, sir.
So you heard what I was saying about Daily Motion?
No, what happened?
I decided I'm going to what I do here is on the machine that I'm using for the switching, I'm streaming to 2 CDNs, and the other Wirecast machine is taking that through Desktop Presenter and transmitting it to 2 other CDNs.
Okay.
That's how we get all these CDNs at the bottom. But the the other machine, because it goes through the capture card and being cropped because of the standard definition, it's a little blurry. So the ones that I do on this machine supposed to be real nice and crisp, and it always was. So I decided, okay, I'm going to start streaming from this machine to Dailymotion and Bambuser. And I'm doing Bambuser because they record it. Well, I tested it this morning, and the picture on Dailymotion was not as crisp as Vaughn or Bambuser, even though I was streaming directly to it.
Did you check your settings? Maybe
Yeah,
Nick set it up. It was different.
It was the same. I mean, all the profiles for everything are the same. Because I've got a whole bunch of profiles for the different shows, and I don't know. I mean, again, I'm judging it by the little text that tells you the 525.14 at the bottom right.
Also, did you make sure that you were viewing it on the highest resolution, the source resolution? Because remember, they do transcoding, so they'll downscale depending on the bandwidth.
Okay, that I did not try. All right, I'll take a look. So I switched back to Vaughn as the as one of the ones that I'm doing from here. And if you see the Dailymotion is actually the default one now, because I figured I'm going to go and use Dailymotion as the main one. But if you go to Vaughn, it's clearer.
Yeah. You know, Mike, you brought up something interesting. You brought up Flash, and Google has said that in a future release that they're going to be releasing soon, they want to totally get rid of Chrome support, get rid of Flash support in Chrome. And that's going to be a problem for a lot of people.
I don't think they can afford to do that.
Well, hang on though. Question: Chrome has Flash built in.
It does.
As an extension or a plug-in. Are they saying they're just going to get rid of the built-in part, or are they saying you will not be able to run Flash in Chrome even after installing it externally? My thought is they were talking about not including it as part of the build package.
It, but when I think that's their way of slowly trying to kill it.
Well, look, they probably ought to kill it. Is HTML5 proprietary or open source?
Open.
Andrew.
It's open.
Is Flash proprietary or open?
Proprietary.
They should get rid of it.
Yeah, they should, but they can't.
Well, they will over time. HTML5
over time,
works.
yeah. Over time, once HTML5 takes over and there are others and people are getting used to it and they see it and they like it and it's all working across platforms, then Flash will die a slow death anyway because it is such a resource hog.
My prediction is that it will die a quick death.
You think so? How soon? I mean, I'm giving it at least 2 more years.
Oh, I would agree. But I think that once the major guys are away, I mean, YouTube already has HTML5.
Everybody does. Everybody's doing HTML5. I mean, actually, out of all the CDNs that aren't doing it, it's Vaughn. Vaughn doesn't have a Flash replacement.
But what would they have to? What would they have to do to institute one?
They had one, and they took it away because of the way that HLS behaves. HLS, it's a hog. So they're coming up with a different player, but I haven't seen it happen yet.
Well, I have this question. If let's assume that, I don't know, make some site, let's assume that a site is all Flash and they decide to convert to HTML5. They have a large library of videos encoded in Flash. What is the technical procedure for converting that entire site over to HTML5?
It probably is not a big thing. All you have to do is start using it to send out to all your connections.
Well, what do you mean? What do you mean a site to convert over? What do you mean by that?
Well, all right, let's assume, just hypothetically, without getting too technical, let's just assume that GFQ hosts all of its own video on its server. all of that video is served through Flash.
Okay.
You decide to convert to HTML5.
Well, no,
Do you-
I wouldn't convert anything. So all our video right now is it's Flash, and it'll revert to HTML5. I think we actually eliminated. We're not doing Flash anymore at all. I think it's all HTML5 now. All our videos.
But if your videos are archived as Flash, are you saying an HTML5
No.
will serve
The
a Flash
archive-
video?
The archiving is MP4. The player is what's delivering the video to you. So the player is HTML5.
I mean, in a lot of places it's stored as an MP4.
Yeah, so
What
we
if
have
it's-
MP4s, or we have whatever. Whatever
They take it
format is.
and they send it to you, and your player says, "Okay, I'm going to use HTML5."
Well, I still don't get it. I mean,
Well, no, not his player, Amnon. So
I
the
mean,
player on my
right?
website,
No, they're yeah, that's right.
So the player on my website is Sublime Video. Sublime
But-
has the capability of playing HTML, making the video stream at HTML5 instead of Flash. So it's the player that's really the difference. You could replace the player, and you're set. You're good.
But what if the files are encoded as SWF?
The encoding, well, then you're kind of screwed. But SWF is streaming Flash, so you would have to. What's the source for those files? What were they before?
Well, and that's my question. The reason I ask is because we have a business that's all Flash based, and if Flash goes away, that business is toast.
I don't know,
But
that
the whole
any-
thing's going to have to be updated in the next 2 years anyway, so I'm not overly concerned about it.
I don't know that any CDN stores it will accept SWF.
I mean, that's like saying, Mike. That's like saying, how about the sites that had RM files and RAM files? You know,
Right. Well, that was my question. Is that the same sort of thing? And I think that the answer is yes.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you though, HTML5 has made our lives a lot easier here because I don't have to worry about devices supporting Flash. I don't have to worry about you not being able to access it on your mobile device. It's far more efficient when it comes to CPU resources. People with lower-end Android phones are able to play my video in HD on their phone through my website. If they have good bandwidth, obviously. But I mean, Flash is a total nightmare. Total nightmare. I actually like Google. If you go to Google's website right now, Google is no longer embedding Flash players on their website. They have gone totally to HTML5. They don't give you the option anymore. It's all HTML5. 99% of people have never noticed it.
And that's why I think the transition will be fairly rapid because people don't notice except things start working.
I'm trying to see right now. Dailymotion right now is Flash. Your Dailymotion video is in Flash right now.
How
The
can you tell?
problem
By
is-
right-clicking?
Yeah. The problem is that with HTML5 players, they're not as, for the most part, when it's a secondary option, they're not as intuitive as the Flash player when it comes to settings. So if you'll notice, like the Flash player will have all the settings in there, but the HTML5 player that's a secondary option is pretty bare bones. I had a discussion with someone. Amnon, you have an audio player on the bottom. I see. What's your audio player? Is it Flash?
I don't remember. It's the one that came with that NCH.
So I was talking to someone, and they were saying that they're embedding a Flash audio.
Oh, it's JW.
Okay, so you're good. A lot of people embed their audio in Flash players, and I've never understood that. And I asked him, why do you do that? He goes, well, yeah, because I want to put it, it's in a Flash file. And we go, who's the audio player for? He goes, people with low bandwidth, or they can't view the video, or they're mobile. Well, if they're having CPU problems and they're mobile, how are they going to watch a Flash player?
Right.
Ours is HTML5, and it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, everything is going to move to HTML5 sooner or later. It's just that there's a lot of people that program in Flash are resisting it.
Oh,
And a lot of big companies that hired programmers have them. You know, it's going to take time.
I mean, why would you resist?
I'm not saying it's going to take 5 years, Mike.
Mike, look at WebRTC. You know.
Yeah.
What about it?
It's great.
But it's not
yes
taking
and
over.
no.
Early on, I mean, it's still very early on in the technology, but the fact that you could do so much with it, and it's not Flash, it's not a CPU hog.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure what's going on with WebRTC. And for anyone who doesn't know, how would you describe WebRTC? It is a way of integrating audio and video into browsers. And maybe it's more than that. It's into applications as well. It's a system for communicating media over the internet. I don't know how to accurately describe it, but you will see
Google's technology. And it's an API. It's a plugin API for browser-to-browser video calling and audio calling.
And it works extremely well. In fact, there are quite a few new services available for streaming audio and video from browser to browser. And as far as I know, most or all of them are using WebRTC. And it's excellent technology, and I believe it's using the Opus codec for audio. I don't know all that much about it, but my first exposure to WebRTC was not really that impressive. The reason being that we are audio snobs, video snobs, in that we want broadcast quality audio and video, whereas a lot of people involved in these services are tickled to death with 48K audio, which is really not that great. And there are some new services that are actually taking the governors off of the WebRTC, because as I understand it, once you start the application, you have to tell your application how much bandwidth do you want this application to be able to use. And a lot of the developers have settled on 48K audio as being, well, that's all you need. That's good enough. It's better than a telephone call. But it's not good enough, because Nick and I actually did a test with a new service called source-now.com, where we did 128K stereo. And not only was the latency of the audio connection extremely low, but in just listening through his headphones, Nick could not hear the difference between the audio I was streaming to him in stereo versus the audio he was listening to as he played it on his own mixer. It was extraordinary. As far as I know, that is a WebRTC implementation. This service is actually free if you sign up for an account. They're going to give 128K from one person to a second person for free. That's their objective. Now, they did not say, or I did not read, whether that 128K is mono or stereo. Maybe it doesn't matter. But for all internet broadcasting that I'm aware of, and yes, I'm an audio snob, but all audio that I'm aware of for this business, 128K stereo is enough. Is it recording studio quality? No. Is it better than what you're hearing most of the time? Yes. As far as I know, Twit is not even streaming in 128K stereo. Maybe you don't want to stream in 128K stereo because of the bandwidth requirement. As I recall, Amnon, we're streaming Computers 2K Now at 64K mono because we want to be not such a bandwidth hog for people who want to listen, and for audio voice only, 64K is pretty darn good. Jeff, it's source-now.com.
The only thing that's weird about it is the website. They got a really funky website.
It's hard to follow. Because you go to source-now.com and it immediately reflects you over to now.source-elements.com /! So it's funky. But if you go to source-now.com, then sign up for an account. It's a little wonky how it works, but I got to tell you, I mean, Nick is becoming an audio snob as well, and he's got good ears. His ears work better than ours do. He was impressed, and I was impressed. I played a song to him. A lot of the songs from the '60s have been remixed to stereo, and since the songs were many of them recorded with all of the music on one track, the music was pre-recorded, and then the vocalist would come back and sing to the track on a different track. Many of them were recorded as what's called duophonic or dual channel instead of true stereo, because in true stereo there's a center channel, a left channel, and a right channel. In dual channel, or there actually is all the audio's in the left channel for the vocalist, all the music's in the right channel. I played one of those songs for him, and it was just funny to see his face once he heard it, because it was awesome. Jeff, once you sign up and play with it, I'd love to hear back what you think of it. These guys, a lot of these guys are charging for this service, and it says here, Source Connect now is free. All accounts will be able to connect two people at broadcast quality for free. For premium features, which they don't tell what they are, pricing will start out as low as $8 a month, with a middle tier around $24 a month. There is no need to purchase additional links. Guest accounts are always free. I read that, and I'm not sure exactly what they're hitting at. And they're still in final beta. They haven't really told what all these features are going to be. But for what it is worth, we do a weekly radio show, which is on hiatus at the moment. We do a weekly radio show over the internet that's distributed to terrestrial radio station. We've been using Skype. Skype is mono, and Skype, of course, has its issues. And as we continue to grow, if we pick up a second station, then I'm probably going to look at distributing the audio using Source-Now, because you can distribute this audio you have up to 10 people in the conference. And so long as I can mute other people in the conference so that the radio stations can't inadvertently send their audio back down the stream, then this would be an extraordinary way to distribute the audio in stereo. It's incredible.
You mean versus Mixler?
No, Mixler's got a 6 to 10, 15-second delay on it.
Yeah.
And that's a problem when you're trying to do real-time timing for a radio station.
Right.
That's why we send it by Skype, because Skype only has about a 300 to 500 millisecond delay. Reaction time is probably as slow as that. So we send it through Skype because it's in real time. If we were distributing it using Source Connect, then it would be just as much in real time. There's a second benefit to Source Connect that Skype does not have, and that is Source Connect is true duplex. There's no ducking.
Yeah.
Andrew should be using Source Connect as his audio feed between him and Spencer for their shows. I guess he doesn't really need it for the Bald Truth unless he participates. But plus
the problem with that is latency.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think you're going to find
latency between the video and the audio. There's going to be a sync issue.
Try it.
Here's the thing. If one has a hiccup, it's going to do with timing, right? Skype does these timing algorithms. And if the timing algorithms changes in Skype and not in the software, you're going to have a problem.
I don't know. But this, for example, now you're on Skype, I'm on Skype, you're on a different channel than I am, and sometimes you and I are talking over each other because when I'm talking, you don't hear me, or you're talking, I don't hear you. We're talking over each other because of Skype ducking.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's terrible. If we were both using Source Connect, we could be talking at the same time.
I mean, we could use the great article that you wrote on the IIB on how to make a full duplex connection via Skype by running two instances. That really helps.
Well, there's even a better way to do that now. And it's mentioned in the article, and that is using a SIP client, because whenever we do that with Rick's house, Rick is coming to me on Skype, and I'm sending his back feed or his program audio back to him using SIP client, which is iCanBlink.com is the site, and the client is Blink. Each of us has an account on sip2sip.info, free SIP clients. To feed audio from me to him, I log into a sip2sip.info client. I call him on that. I send audio to him on the SIP client. He sends audio to me on Skype, so they don't cross each other and there's no ducking. I can play music down the line to him. He can talk over that music without the music interfering with his volume feed to me. If I did it to him on Skype, every time he talked, the music I'm feeding back to him would disappear while he's talking.
So I have a question for you, Mike. I sent you a link. I have a friend that does a radio show, and his co-host is in another location. And right now what the co-host has been doing is that he's been calling in to his Telos, Telos phone system, and they've been doing the show that way. I told him to do it via Skype. They tried to do it Skype, but the co-host technically does not understand it, and they were having a ton of problems. The computer that he has a lot of issues. So what I had recommended was get him a laptop, set it up for him, or tell him how to set it up, and that's all he uses that laptop for, is to call you and to do the show. He decided that he wants to get a Tie-Line Bridget unit. I don't know if you're familiar with these.
Sort of.
It's an IP codec box.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what it is.
What?
I know exactly what it is. I've never used one. I'm hesitant to recommend something that I've never personally used.
Well, he uses this to send it to the station because he sends it to the syndicator. He's on the Sports Byline network. They syndicate it everywhere. So he has one of these on his end, and it sends it to the station. Now he wants to, theoretically you can, I was talking to a couple people, and they said that you can do almost zero latency connections with this box. You just plug your mic in there, and that's it. You're good to go.
You can do the same thing with Source Connect that you can do with Bridget. However, the Bridget is going to have dramatically superior error correction and link maintenance capability. If this is a commercial show and money is not an object, he should go with a hardware solution. If you're talking about, say again.
That's what I think he's going to end up doing. He's going to end up going with the Bridget, but I don't know how high in the quality. I mean, it's obviously SIP based, and it says that the device supports G.722 and G.711, but I don't know what other codecs it supports for higher end audio.
Again, I don't know this unit either, but if it's limited to G722, I would be hesitant to use it. Now, is it for a telephone line or for bringing his co-host in?
Bringing his host in. So it actually does LC-AAC, HEAAC, HEAC2.
Okay, so it will do a whole lot more than 722. 722 is a wideband communications protocol.
But so here's the thing. I'm trying to figure out if he does HEAC, what will the latency between him and his host be? I'm curious if there's going to be a delay with that, because I don't know any box unit that does, under 500 millisecond HEAC streaming.
Nick, what do you think that the Source Connect Now result would be if they used it for his co-host?
It would be perfectly fine.
It probably would be. So, but his
zero
issue
latency.
is that the host cannot function with a computer.
Doesn't matter.
Well, get a separate computer.
That's
like
what
you
I
said.
I said you're better off just getting a separate computer. But I think this whole concept of having like a software thing loaded on a computer terrifies these people. So they want a hardware solution that they rack it and they just connect their microphone to it, and that's what they use.
Well, that's doable. I mean,
Is the station doing the switching?
No, well, the station is just a syndicator. He's doing so. Imagine if just me and Mike doing a radio show.
Yeah, so that plugging just the mic into the box is not the solution. Don't they have to, unless they're doing the switching?
Well, on one end. I mean,
so he has to have two of the boxes.
He needs one on. Yeah, he needs to receive and send. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, but how is he so the only thing he's sending is his microphone? He's not sending any music or anything?
To to the station? No, well, the station handles all that.
Oh, so then he's not doing the switching.
All he needs is an ATR 2100.
That's what I said. Honestly,
why does
that's what I told him. I said, why doesn't he get an ATR 2100 and you just call him he just calls you with Skype, and you handle the
see
rest.
what the problem is.
And he goes, he can't do it. His computer is totally, it's crapped out every time he tries to do a show. He has all these problems.
Well, then tell him to buy a $10,000
yeah.
box. That'll solve his problem.
Yeah. I'll just tell him to go buy a new computer.
People aren't willing to
What I
buy
told him
stuff.
was,
Tell him to get a Mac.
get him a laptop. Tell him not to use it for anything else other than the show. Spend $300, get him a laptop, and just plug the USB mic in, and you're set.
No, you know what? Build a computer in like a 1U case, then give it to him, and then he'll think it's some magical device.
Charge him $5,000 for it.
I'll do it if he needs
You
to.
can call it. You can call it a TriCaster.
What you could do now? What?
You can call it a TriCaster.
But isn't that crazy that the guy cannot use a computer to the level, and he has so many computer problems that they need to go and spend all this money so he could call in?
All they need to do is the station needs to remote into him using TeamViewer or whatever and do the call.
Well, keep in mind, Andrew, these Tie-Line and these Comrex solutions are excellent. The problem that you're dealing with, and I know you'll find this hard to believe, but the internet is not totally reliable. I knew you wouldn't believe it, but we've experienced that. You can run into packet loss and all sorts of things, routing issues. And these free, cheap software solutions work extremely well when the internet is perfect. When the internet degrades, look what Skype does. When the internet degrades, look at things that get disconnected. What these boxes do, these Comrex, the Telos, the Tie-Line boxes, they are optimized to deal with those issues, to try to reconnect, to try to minimize downtime, to minimize latency, to handle packet loss. Some of these things, and I don't remember which ones, but some of these things actually run a simultaneous dual stream with dual routing. And if one of the streams loses packets, it will recover them from the other stream or even switch to the other stream. It has a redundant connection built into it. You're not going to get that with Skype or with a SIP connection or something like that. What I'm saying is that even though these boxes are I don't know how much this one is. Do you know?
I think it's like $1,400.
Well, that's actually pretty low price. But these
Doesn't
boxes.
Telos have one?
Who?
Telos. Don't they have one?
Isn't that the Zephyr?
Yeah, the Zephyr does the same thing, no?
Yeah.
Isn't the Zephyr ISDN?
But I think they have a POTS and an IP version of it, or if not, they have another model that is based on the same technology with a different interface.
Yeah, they have the Zip. Oh no, the Zip. The Zip is the one.
Zip.
The Zip
There you
one.
go. Which all these boxes, a lot of them
doesn't
inside are probably the same thing, but they have to change the interface and the firmware for the particular protocol.
Good morning, Steve.
You know what I would like to do, Mike? I wouldn't mind contacting Telos to say like, hey, why don't you send me? I want to not to keep because I don't need it, but I would love to test out the audio from the Zip One. Just have Zip Ones on two sides to see how the audio is.
Then you should get them to send one to Spencer and one to you, and you should try that. And I think you will be
them sending it to you, and you do like a little review of it.
Well, I can if you want to. I'm starting to. Well, that's getting to be a lot of work, but. I would. But the point I was making about the audio, you're talking about sync issues, but Nick and I were connected through Google Plus, and we were doing the audio through Source Connect. I was clapping my hands. Nick did the same thing, and what was the sync like, Nick?
It was right on.
So, Nick, did you hear my question about what happens when Skype starts doing some timing changes?
No.
Because Skype is constantly readjusting the timing. That's why sometimes you go out of sync and you go back into sync. My problem would be for long-term usage, when you're using Skype for like the video and you're using that for the audio, when Skype has a hiccup, it probably won't adjust properly.
So it'll eventually get back in sync.
It has to resync.
What I'm saying is it won't get back in sync.
It would have to resync, Andrew, because it's a real-time conversation.
can you guys see what the latency is?
There's no latency.
No, there is latency. There's
No,
always
of course
latency.
there's latency, but there's not noticeable latency. You will not notice it in the conversation.
We actually, Andrew, set it up when we were testing it. It has the ability in their interface. It has the ability to monitor the return signal.
Yeah.
The echo creating return signal.
Yeah.
And it was just a really quick ba-boom, ba-boom,
Yeah.
ba-boom.
It's not noticeable in the
Is it
conversation.
also doing any kind of echo cancellation, or?
No.
Well, yeah, you turn off the monitoring.
It's not doing any echo cancellation.
No, it doesn't need it. There is no echo.
Like with Skype,
The echo-
for example, Skype does echo cancellation. So,
Yeah, well, that's a
is it
big
like
problem
mandatory
with
that
Skype.
you have a mix minus, or anybody could run this?
Well, the echo cancellation is because it's half duplex primarily. If it's full duplex, you don't want echo cancellation because you don't want anything switching your audio on and off in the background.
Yeah.
Uber Geek says his DSL has lag.
How it syncs.
How what syncs?
For long-term usage, you do the show for like an hour and a half, and if it syncs perfectly, then that's a great solution.
But the problem isn't Source Connect. The problem is Skype.
Yeah. Is Skype going to, because remember, you're doing a lot more bandwidth with Skype because you're sending video.
And even, Andrew, if you try it with Spencer, I wouldn't run 128K audio. I would run 64 to 80K mono.
Oh, yeah, it's still going to be much better than Skype, yeah.
Well, no, I don't. No, I don't want to dog on Skype because I'm pretty impressed with Skype's audio quality. They use Silk version 3 codec, which has been in use now for several years. And I got to tell you, I don't remember where I saw it, but I was out of the broadcasting business for many, many years. And it wasn't until, and I don't know where, but I heard someone doing wideband audio over Skype. I had played with Skype some, and of course people were using headset mics and webcam mics, and so I never paid much attention to it. But I know who did it. I remember now where I heard about it. There is a website for lawyers that I can't remember the name of it. Legal Tech. I'll think of it. I may think of it in a minute. But I went to that website and I was listening to these podcasts these guys were doing, and the people were in fact, one of the ladies was in a little studio here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The host studio was in Massachusetts. And I contacted this guy and I said, "How are you doing this?" He said, "Skype." I said, "You're kidding." He said, "No, we use Skype." Then I started playing with it, and then I interfaced a mixer and broadcast audio equipment with Skype, started doing some testing. I mean, it just knocked me out. I had no idea that Skype had the quality. This is 4 years ago. I had no idea that Skype has the wideband quality that it has. Strangely enough, once I dug into it and got to the point that I understood what I was talking about and had established somewhat of a relationship with this guy, I went back to him and I said, "Something's still not adding up about what you're doing." I said, because we have done a lot of broadcasting using Skype, and in those days you would almost always get some cyborging during a Skype call. I mean, to their credit, the number of times that happens has gone down dramatically, at least for us. And part of the problem was my internet connection because of some bad cabling and a bad modem and a bad router. But other than that, it worked great. And so I went back to him and I said, "Something's really not adding up here because you have none of those issues with your broadcast. Your broadcast sounds studio quality." Then he told me, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, we use Skype to handle the exchange, but we record locally and do double enders." Meaning that the audio quality that I was listening to was not actually Skype audio. It was actually locally recorded audio that they synced in the studio after the show was done, which is fine. But it's really strange that that's what caused me to investigate the audio capabilities of Skype. Then it wasn't until I got to know Andrew and saw what he was able to do with Skype doing HD video that I realized how amazingly powerful Skype really is. I would venture a guess now that most people have no clue how powerful Skype is.
You know, I get messages all the time from people that are amazed that I'm doing Skype. They think I'm using some sort of like magic software that I'm not telling people, but
you are.
I am. That's the truth. No, it really comes down to a couple things. One, you have to have really good bandwidth. Two, Skype is much better than it used to be. I'm still amazed when someone Skypes into a show like a guest and they're plagued with Skype problems. It baffles me that they have so many issues with Skype.
Okay, but there are only two reasons to have Skype issues that I can think of at this moment. Number one is you've got a crappy computer, and that could be spyware, malware, slow, low memory, whatever. And the second is you got bad internet.
You know what, though? That bad internet isn't a problem like it used to be.
Why?
My co-host, Jake,
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake has the basic Time Warner plan, which gives him maybe 15 down and 1 up, and his connection is, for the most part, pretty solid, and it's HD normally the whole show. Every once in a while there's a hiccup, but for the most part it's a pretty solid connection.
Right, but what I'm saying to you, Nick, is think back before you got your own modem. You remember how many more burps you were having than you're having now?
Well,
what I'm talking about...
I never used to have Skype issues. My internet would just turn off.
Right. Well, that kills Skype too. But what I'm saying is those sorts of issues, I guess what I'm getting to is that many people have internet issues that they are not aware of until they start using audio and video streaming.
Yeah.
Because that requires a constant stream. If their email takes an additional 2 seconds to connect with the SMTP server to send, they never notice that. They never pay attention to it. But once they start using their internet for media, streaming media, all of the warts come to the forefront. I mentioned before on this show what I ran into. I kept having, even on this show, I would keep getting into cyborging and fading and disconnecting. And to the point that I got to know, I had the supervisor for Time Warner at my home several times chasing problems, when finally they brought over what's called a time domain reflectometer. And what this is a device like an electronic sonar device that sends out a ping and looks for a reflection to come back down the line. They set up the time TDR on my cable from the street. They sent a signal down the line, and they looked for echoes. And they found an echo at something like 26.3 feet. They took a tape measure. They measured along my coaxial cable till they got to 26.3 feet. And they said, okay, and they found that point was actually a bend in the coax where the coax was coming out of the ground up the side of my house, taking a 90-degree turn to go into my crawl space under my house. So what they did was they cut the coax, put a junction box there, and 2/3 of my problems went away. Then, after we got to the 5 megabit upload with the Time Warner latest service, and things were still not what they should be, and the ping times were a little high, I disabled the router on my Ubi DDW 2611 router that they supplied with the 5 megabit service, went back to my own Netgear router. And not only did the consistency of my connection improve, but when I was connecting externally to my computers using remote desktop connection, those connections stopped dropping. When I went away from the Ubi modem and put in my own Motorola, 6141 modem, then as far as I'm concerned, almost every problem I had disappeared.
And I can agree with that. The modem definitely fixes a lot of the problems.
And again, it's not.
Mike. I mean, there's a lot of things. You've replaced your modem. You could change the router. You can make sure that you have high quality Ethernet cables. There's a lot of ways that you could kind of fix your internet
I can
issues.
attest firsthand that I used to constantly, at least once a week, have an internet problem, and since I've switched over to my own modem, they've gone away completely. The latest issue I had was that there was a bad hop from another cable company somewhere else, and that's
And how do we fix that?
New IP.
Force a
Changed
new
by-
IP, and it'll change the routing, usually.
Do not call Time Warner Cable and ask them to change your IP. They don't know how
No.
to.
They don't have a clue. And for anybody who wants to know how to do it, all you do is change the MAC address in your router and shut your service down for half an hour. When you turn it back up, your IP address hopefully is given to someone else. It sees a new MAC address, and it will give you a new IP address.
Yeah, so to be
I
clear
do
with
the
that, 'cause I
same
didn't-
exact thing with Verizon.
I didn't understand what Mike meant when he said that the first time. So you go on your router and you change your router's MAC address. Then you unplug both the router and the modem for half an hour, 40 minutes. Then plug both of them back in.
And if it brings the same IP address, leave it off overnight, because
Yeah.
the DHCP server at the cable company has to recognize that your IP, your MAC address has disappeared, and it's going to reassign one. The lease on that IP address has to expire.
Yep.
And I don't know what I'm talking about, but you guys should.
So yesterday we were talking off the air about taking phone calls on podcasts, because it seems like the topic is happening again, where a lot of people are talking about, how do you take phone calls on a podcast? And Blog Talk Radio still is probably the best and easiest interface to do so. I'm talking, multi-line phone calls, not Skype. And I'm going to be finally getting in my call system from Telos in a couple of weeks. So we were trying to figure out a way to share that amongst all of us, in the group, Nick and Mike and Amnon, to somehow share that phone system on each of our shows to do remote screening and remote call answering. And I was thinking, if this is something that we could figure out and we could kind of get it to work, if you know a group of podcasters or you know a group of people that are doing this and they want to take phone calls, it may not be a bad idea for everyone to chip in and to buy a unit and just keep it somewhere.
Well, you're the perfect candidate to have one and host it, because with your 150/65 internet, I don't know anyone else in the country who has that level of speed unless they're in the Google Fiber area.
I mean, just the question is it possible for it to work the way that we want it to work?
We don't know yet.
If Block Talk Radio worked, then yes.
No, it's
Why?
different hardware. He's talking
I
a hardware
understand.
solution.
I understand. But
The
if,
solution that Andrew's talking about has the potential to work infinitely better than Blog Talk Radio. did.
that's what I'm saying. It could, because if Blog Talk Radio worked, then you know that this will work. Because
No, you don't.
If,
No, you don't. It's not the same thing.
If
That's
you
not the
can,
same thing at all.
If you can remotely
Correct.
answer it, and
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs
yeah,
there.
I know. No,
And the
well,
other thing is that Blog Talk Radio, they have, I'm assuming, they have their own dedicated servers for their services, as opposed to someone here running it out of their home. I mean, to be the equivalent, Amnon, you'd have to run it over at Time Warner and access it remotely, and we don't even know how that would work yet. That may even be something that would work. I don't know.
I mean, what we need to figure out is some sort of Astro setup where Nick could call screen it, or Mike could call screen it. Then
Anybody.
via software,
Yeah.
he could, input it into the software, which it obviously comes with software, and he could remotely manage it and say, Amnon's on line 1 and he wants to talk about so and so, and I could say, okay, in line 1, I hit the button, I pick it up.
But even with Spencer's calls out on the West Coast, using the setup that he has, he's using a POTS type digital hybrid with ATAs to VoIP lines.
Yeah,
And it's not good.
it's not good at all.
And he's got premium commercial grade equipment, and his services are good. Remember, he had all those internet problems when he moved to the new house, but those have all been resolved. And it's still just not good.
I don't think the problem is that the POTS lines have a very difficult time converting over from SIP.
Well, that's what I was telling you when you and I were talking yesterday. You were asking about the SIP thing, and that's why I was saying that the Telos, what is it, the
VX.
VX, that's what I was trying to think of. I was looking at the Comrex one as well, but the VX system probably has commercial grade ATAs in it, in contrast with these cheap Linksys ATAs that the VoIP providers provide for $50 to home users.
Yeah.
The hope is that the system that you get will perform much better at a hardware level than what Spencer has with his system out there. It's hard to beat copper lines, but the writing is on the wall. They're going away.
And the thing about the VX is that it allows you to do you start using Lucy Live, which is a software for people to use to call into your radio show. And it does HEAAC, high quality HD audio with Lucy Live.
Never heard of it.
You should Google it. You might be surprised on how well that thing works. A lot of radio stations incorporate it into their websites and into their applications, where instead of having someone call in on a phone, they just hit the call the radio station button on their app.
Mm-hmm. As far as the audio quality is concerned, Sean Hannity, his engineers have mastered the art of integrating a telephone call into a show. I can't find out what they're doing. I heard through the grapevine that they actually have a multi-band audio processor on the telephone feed going into the console. And I've actually been playing with doing that. I haven't had the same results that they have, but I think that they probably are using some pretty sophisticated telephone equipment. And some of their guys, I don't know, they have guys calling on the telephone, and honest to goodness, the bass response of the telephone call is stunning. A lot of good stuff going on. It's going to be fun to see what happens in the next few years.
Steve.
Good morning, boys
Good morning.
and girls, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
How
there
are
he
you all?
is.
As Steve enters, I have to leave, actually, guys.
No, you don't.
I showered this morning as
Did
well.
press already open?
No, it's Sundays. I don't go to press on Sundays.
Oh.
I have to go and start my day and work out. I have to go to a barbecue in a couple hours.
Well, it's not a couple of hours.
Well, I have to go get ready. I have to go put pants on.
Oh, that's an
All
awful
right.
image. Thanks for that, Andrew.
All right, guys. I'll see you.
All right, have fun. 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. So what's going on, Steve?
Not a huge amount. It's been a nice, quiet week this week, actually. Thank you.
It has been quiet.
Yes, it's been pretty rainy. We've had some really heavy storms and thunder and lightning and stuff like that. And instead of having a street out front, we had what looked like a stream. But yes, it's all washed away nicely.
Very,
Can I
very
try-
good.
Actually, could I just try something very quickly and tell me if you can hear it? And it
Yeah.
is. Thank you.
Yeah,
You getting that?
yeah, we can hear that.
Excellent. Good. Thank you very much. That works then. Super. Thank you.
What are you doing?
I was playing some music through the mixer. Just wanted to see if it would go without causing any feedback.
So you're using the mixer. Do you have all of your equalization controls at 12 o'clock?
They're all in the middle, yeah, because I've still got the 302 mixer, the little one.
Hmm.
Why? Did it not sound?
Why,
No,
Mike?
it sounds great, but there's actually a little too much bass in your voice.
Is there?
Yeah, don't change it. Just leave it.
Yeah, everything's smack in the middle. It's
Yeah,
all
leave it
all
right
dead in
there.
the
I mean,
middle.
it sounds good, but I think that. I mean, I'm impressed.
I've always been impressed with this microphone. So yes, it's. I haven't been using this one.
Mike, does it sound different now?
Why
1, 2,
am
3,
not?
4,
Did you
5.
have the bass
Because
cranked
because
up?
I'm just looking there, and the bass here was like at 1 o'clock. It must have moved.
Yeah,
Must
when
have
I was
moved by
adjusting
itself. Then?
something.
it
so-
did it by
That's-
itself.
No, it
That's
didn't do
what
it
it
by
was.
itself. I did it, but not on purpose.
Right.
Okay, so testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Perfect.
Does that sound better now?
Perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. There's not much I can be perfect in life, but at least I can manage one thing. Well, two
I can't
things now. I
believe
can
I
play
can hear the
music into
difference.
the room or into my voice call, which is awesome. I've been wanting to do that for a long time.
Amnon doesn't think I can hear the difference.
A what?
Amnon doesn't think I can hear the difference.
Oh, no, I mean, I heard that too when you said that. And I said, well, I mean, he doesn't normally sound, and I just happened to look, and I see one line kind of out of place. I'm saying, what is this?
Well, Steve has a great voice, and it wasn't that it sounded bad. It just, I was impressed that microphone had that much bass response.
I know if I sit away from it, then it does lack the bass, but I was
Sure.
sitting fairly close as well. I'm usually about 4 or 5 inches away from it.
No, it's fine. No complaint at all. You have a great voice, and it's just amazing how well it comes through with that cheap microphone thousands of miles away.
Yeah. And well, I'm going to have to start doing a radio show now because I can play music through as well. Not that any authorities and entertainment industries are going to be any interested in that. Hopefully, go away, nasty people.
Right. But did you hear our discussions earlier about this service now called Source-Connect?
I came in midstream of that. I think I didn't catch it all.
You could now stream in stereo to a radio station and do a radio show.
Be still my beating heart.
Yes, if you were to do a music show, you would want it to be in stereo, and that capability is there now. But what's interesting is there is another service out there that would also enable you to do so. In fact, Nick and I played with one called TeamSpeak that we were able to configure for stereo. But as I recall, Nick, I don't know if you have looked into it, but the TeamSpeak, the final release of the server software did not give you the ability to crank the bandwidth up as high as we had it cranked on the beta version. Have you looked at that again?
No, I let my TeamSpeak server get canceled. I didn't really use it, so no.
But I think they decided that no one needs that much bandwidth, so I think they put a governor on it so that it was not usable. But at one point, Nick set up a TeamSpeak server that had a very high bandwidth. I don't recall where we set it, Nick. It was pretty high. And we actually did a week of Rick's house show where Rick was on and I were on TeamSpeak instead of Skype. Not only was it full duplex, but the quality was as good as Skype. But then they screwed with it. There's another service out there that's actually an open source service, and I wouldn't recommend anyone depending on it because they appear to have abandoned the development on it. But it's called Fideliphone, Fideliphone. It allows you to establish a very high-quality point-to-point link using IP stereo. I tested it with a guy who has a radio station in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. We did a test on it. It requires port forwarding, which will scare most people away. But once it was set up, the quality was tremendous. It was comparable to the quality that we were testing with Source-Connect. We didn't get deeply into it to test the latency or anything, but in terms of a medium for distributing stereo audio, it was excellent. There's another one too. What is the other one? Oh, audiocompass.com has services, but you have to pay for that. You have to buy the software. I think long term they're going to have a problem because you're not going to need to pay for these solutions.
I remember a few years back,
expensive.
about 8 or 9 years ago, possibly. I can remember trying TeamSpeak back then, and it was used by the gamers a lot, which is why I imagine Nick knows about it. Another one was called Ventrilo. At the time, Ventrilo was far better than TeamSpeak as far as quality goes, but I haven't looked into or tried any of them for 8 or 9 years now. But at the time, for multi-chat conferencing that we wanted, the quality wasn't really there. But it sounds like they've vastly improved in the last few years.
Hey, Nick.
Yes, Amnon.
How are you feeling?
Still like garbage, but what do you?
You look pretty crap, actually, mate.
Yeah. This is how I spend my my school break, feeling like garbage.
I take it you got a bad cold then.
Yes, and I'm sure Tuesday morning will come along and I'll feel perfect.
It's bound to happen, mate. That's what happens in life.
Oh, well.
I'll be feeling better soon.
Oh, I'm sure I won't be.
The rate of cybercrime is growing and growing, and law enforcement is struggling to keep up. The FBI is in the process of beefing up its headcount, but they're running into a problem. Many of the hackers applying for these jobs have a history of marijuana use, and the agency has a zero-tolerance policy. FBI Director James Comey said, "I have to hire a great workforce to compete with those cyber criminals, and some of those kids want to smoke weed on the way to the interview. However, change may be on the horizon." Comey said the FBI is changing both our mindset and the way we do business. We also encouraged job applications from former pot users despite the policy. That's interesting. I mean, is that bringing something to... Is that going to be a change?
Have you called anybody with customer service in Colorado lately?
No.
Customer service, what's happening, man? I have a problem with such and such and so and so. Oh, dude, you need to chill.
Well...
Yeah, really? That's a shame, isn't it? Why not call back later? I might give a damn then.
Dude.
Okay, so let's go back to this. So if some of the best hackers in the world use marijuana,
Yeah.
so the FBI needs to change their policy, or they're always going to be behind, right?
So
Right.
what are you saying? They should start smoking marijuana?
No, I'm saying that if somebody that could provide vital information to the FBI uses pot, and it's the FBI's decision to change their policy or stay behind on the
Right.
cyber crimes.
And they're
as
saying
they
they're
are.
changing their policy, which is a good sign, because that's also going to change it in other aspects of the economy. Which is, come on, I mean, if somebody used pot when they were teenagers or in high school and smoked, so what? Now, I'm not
It's like
minimizing
Obama,
it.
isn't it?
Do I?
It's like Obama, isn't it? They asked him, has he smoked pot? And he said, yeah, in college or university or something. And they said, did you inhale? And he went, that was
yeah.
the point.
Yeah, I mean, there are people that are actually, I mean, I know people are saying that you don't get addicted to it and all that. The bartender I was working with in New York,
Get in front of the microphone, Amnon.
I was trying to put it on the side, and how about this? Is this better?
Not really.
Oh, come on. Is this better?
Come on. I
Is
mean,
this
there's no
better?
point in doing the show if we can't hear you.
Is this better?
It's much better.
So the gain doesn't do much, but the fader does.
Well, the position of your mouth in front of the mic has
I know.
the best
I'm
effect.
I'm sideways. I'm almost 90 degrees, talking 90 degrees from the microphone now.
Okay, well.
Is that not?
It's not optimum, no.
Okay, now I'm about 45.
That's better. Just maintain your distance.
Okay. So the bartender in New York that I was working with, actually, he was addicted to it. I mean, he was smoking, and he had a pack of cigarettes full of joints, and that's all he would smoke all day long. And there was no such thing as, no, I'm not addicted to it at that point. But if you just, you smoke occasionally or whatever, why stop, or why create a problem that people cannot contribute the knowledge that they have, especially when it comes to things like these insecurity and all that?
Well, let's dig a little deeper.
Okay.
Dig a little deeper.
Let's go.
All right. Would you agree? And by the way, I'm not being an old fuddy-duddy here. I grew up in the 60s. I was there when all this crap started. Thank God I didn't participate in it, but I saw it firsthand. Now, I certainly don't have the exposure to it that Nick does at his age and in the high schools and in the articles now. And what they say is that the marijuana now has, 10, 20, 30, 40 times the potency of the marijuana that was available when I was Nick's age. But let's just take it from I guess the CIA's or FBI's point of view. Would you hire someone who is knowingly an alcoholic?
No.
You would not, would you?
Not if
Why?
they were alcoholic, but if
Why?
they drank.
Well, play along here. Play
Okay.
along.
All right.
I'm not defending or criticizing the policy. I'm just exploring it.
Right. Because
alcohol is a mind-altering substance.
Right.
People who are wait a minute. People who are under the influence of alcohol arguably are not thinking as clearly as people who are not under the influence of alcohol. All right. So an alcoholic, theoretically, or at least at some level, does not have the ability to resist altering his mind with a substance. If a person is a regular smoker of marijuana, which is a mind-altering substance that absolutely, unequivocally, without argument, impairs your judgment, then do you want that person working for you in a mission-critical operation? That's the argument. Is it a valid one? We can discuss that, but I will tell you that is the argument.
Mike, there is a difference between somebody who uses marijuana on regular basis, as in daily and hourly, versus somebody who is 30 years old today, or 25 or 20, and they used it when they were 14 for about 6 months.
Could not agree more.
So that's what we're talking about here. Of course, I mean, if there's somebody who's coming to the interview, I mean, they're trying to relax or whatever, and you know that they're like, look, you can walk into a store that has somebody painted, and you smell, you breathe some of the fumes, and that will alter your mind, but you don't think twice about it. Oh, well, they're just painting. And then you go to work, and you go outside to drive.
Let me tell you, have you ever used contact cement?
Yep.
Yeah. Sure. Absolutely. It's crazy.
Oh, it scared me to death. I didn't know anything about it. The first time I used it, we were putting some Formica on a desktop in the radio station. Mm-hmm. and so I took this stuff out of the quart can and I spread it all over the wood and put it on the other side of the Formica, and I'm sitting there waiting. You have to let the stuff dry for, I think in those days it was like 15 minutes before you put them together. And once you put them together, they are permanently connected. I mean, it's an amazing bond.
Right.
And good Lord, I'm lucky I got the Formica on there, because after I put it on there, I'm sitting there looking around and the room starts spinning. And I said, what in the heck is going on here?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, I mean, because now they do that stuff on purpose, but in those days, we didn't even think about it. It'd knock you out. Yep. And it was not a pleasant experience for me.
No, it's not. I mean, it's scary. But for people that pick up a joint, and I was, to tell you the truth, I've never put a joint in my mouth. But did I breathe in the stuff? Big time.
If you've been to a concert, you breathed it in.
I lived in Jerusalem, in the old city, when I moved there. It was our apartment. I mean, this were 5 single guys. And the apartment was really a Grand Central Station for parties. And, I mean, it was known all over the city. And we had a couple of drug dealers. When I'm saying drug dealers, over there, it's marijuana and hash. I've never seen anything harder than that anywhere. But the room was always filled with a cloud of that stuff. Well, not all the time, but when there was partying going on. So even though I did not smoke it myself intentionally. I mean, I was breathing the stuff.
Yeah, but
I don't remember it doing anything to
no,
me.
secondhand marijuana smoke, as far as I know, doesn't matter.
I don't know.
In fact, secondhand cigarette smoke is not even dangerous, contrary to what the radicals would like to have you believe. And the reason why, it's a long discussion, but
yeah, let's not get into that. So if somebody, if this is going to block me or single me out from getting a certain job based on that, that's ridiculous.
well,
Now that it's legal in certain places, why should it make a difference? I mean, alcohol
Well, no,
hasn't been banned.
no. Then I'll argue with you, Steve, because alcohol is legal everywhere.
Well, yeah,
And
but what
it
I'm
is a
saying
problem.
It's getting to the point where marijuana now is being accepted because it's legal in
Yes.
certain states. So, eventually, perchance, as I imagine, it's probably going to be legal right across the US. So it's the same as alcohol is. So what the hell's the big problem? I don't
Well,
see what the problem is.
Mike's question was, would you hire somebody who's an alcoholic? And
In fact, yes, I have in the past.
well, the thing is, if you're an alcoholic and you are actively you actively drinking and getting drunk every day, no.
He admitted to me at the interview that he was an alcoholic but was trying to quit.
Okay, that
And
you
I
see
thought-
now that is different.
But he was saying that he is still drinking, but he was trying to quit and would quit if he got a good job because it would give him an incentive
okay.
to carry on.
Okay,
And I
Steve,
thought, well,
was
if I
this
can
a
help
mission-
you do that,
but would this be a mission critical job, high security, for example? And the answer is
it's
no.
not. Forget about high security, Mike. I mean, if I have a cab company, am I going to hire a driver who's trying to? No.
Sir, I mean, that's a valid
You
question.
don't have to go to high security. Anything that is sensitive or is safety involved in all that, you can't. I mean, you just can't. You can't take the chances.
Well, it's like having a company that a tower maintenance service, the ability to climb the tower and to change beacons at the top of the tower.
To climb
Can
up
you
there.
hire someone in a wheelchair?
No.
I mean, that's just
No,
the nature
I
of the
agree.
beast, is what I was suggesting with regard to the addiction sort of thing. There are just some practical considerations that have to be taken into effect, and John's exactly right. John says, who should decide, the government or the employer?
if it's operating heavy machinery, then no. If it's going to endanger the public in any way, no.
Yeah,
But if it's
and-
sat there answering the phone, why not?
Andrew's saying, what about someone who is on meds?
It's a difficult
Legally.
problem, because I would argue that much of the drug abuse in today's society is actually legal medications.
Right. But you have to take it the same way. If you're going to be driving a truck, or if you're going to be, let's take just the driving, then me as the company owner, I would have a problem hiring somebody who shows signs of that they are under influence of something. And
Operating heavy
DUI,
machinery.
DUI,
is-
what?
operating any machinery,
Right.
that should be a red flag. No, you can't. But if it's answering the telephone or correlating some documents, what the hell matters?
It doesn't matter unless it creates a situation where they get hostile or it's changing them to the point where they are not courteous,
Yeah.
and which could be. So yeah, all these things, it's always better to have somebody who's clean. There's no doubt. It's just like when you go to buy a car. If it had an accident and it was fixed, and you see one right next to it, which is the same look, the same mileage, but it never had been an accident, same price, which one would you get? You get the one that was never in an accident. And Bruce from New York, I sure hope you talked with Spencer, because he said he did not hear from you in some time.
Dr. John says a man who did not sleep well is more dangerous than a man with
That's
a
true.
0.1 blood alcohol level.
I agree.
I totally agree. And it's amazing how many people are not sleeping well. I mean, there's a crisis among people not being able to sleep well.
Yep.
Tell me
And did
about
you hear
it.
the what is it, Steve?
I said, tell me about it.
They were talking about all these drugs like Ambien and all that. That
Mhm.
the FDA now lowered the
Recommended dosage.
dosage to half because they
Yeah.
found out that people take it before they go to sleep. It still affects them half a day the next day, and they driving
Actually, that's
and all
not true.
that. I don't know. That's what they were saying. That
Nah, the half-life on Ambien is only 4 hours. The problem is what it is so strong is that the stuff it made you do during that 4 hours, like sleepwalking and things like that, is what they were trying to counteract.
all right. So let's switch gears here. For years, for cell phone companies, one specific kind of data, voice calls, placed by dialing a traditional telephone number, was entirely different from all the other kinds of data a phone used. But in the US, that's finally starting to change, as all the major carriers are planning shifts to voice over LTE. The carriers promise sharper call quality and quicker connections. So everything is data. I guess that means that right now they're using a different. This is why you have so many minutes of phone, of talking, and so many gigabytes of data because they can differentiate between the two. Now that you're going to use, I mean, voice over LTE, is that the same as voice over IP?
It's not the same, but it's the same idea, and that is that they're. And I don't know the technical explanation here. Someone else here probably knows infinitely better than I. But if on your cell phone, when you talk over, what is it? Boy, I tell you now, I'm drawing a blank. I hate getting old. But when you talk over your cell phone, you're on one channel. When you access data, you're on a different channel. That's why in some places you can talk on your phone and not get the internet because they're actually two different data channels. And it sounds to me like what you're saying is that because of the improvement of the bandwidth with the LTE, that they're going to encode the voice data on the data channel and move it from the good grief, what do they call it now? What do we call the data? What is the service 3 that has a 3 in it?
3G?
3G. That's what I've been trying to think of. What I'm saying is that it seems to me that they're trying to move from the voice, which is all binary anyway, all digital, is shifting. It sounds to me like what they're saying is shifting from 3G to encoded data on the LTE channel because of the available bandwidth. Because you remember, I forget the guy who used to be on this show. What was his name? Well, is his name. He used to be on Parham.
Yeah, Parham.
Parham was saying at some point that whenever the iPhone first came out, there was a lot of criticism. In fact, there still is over the voice quality of the phone when you're using an iPhone. That is, it's muffled. It's not clear. And we were making comment that the phone, that the iPhone had terrible quality, and Parham was saying, no, that's not true. It's not the iPhone. It is the 3G service from AT&T. And we heard that and no way to prove it or disprove it. And then finally he found a way to prove it, because at that one point, as I recall, he was working with the Apple Store, and he was dealing with people who had taken their iPhones to Japan. In Japan, they do not have the bandwidth limitations on the voice service that they have here. And in Japan, he said it sounded like iPhone to iPhone, it sounded like they were talking on Skype, which proves that the bandwidth is severely limited here in the U.S., which is why the telephone calls on an iPhone sound so bad. Amnon, as you recall, who was it, Marshall? or someone got an iPhone on Verizon, he called in, and we could hear a noticeable difference in the call quality even on the show.
Yep.
We could tell which iPhone he was talking on because the Verizon quality was superior to the much limited AT&T quality. And so that's when it became obvious that, in fact, the cell phone services are limiting the bandwidth and restricting the quality.
Yep.
This could be a good thing, I think. They only have to build and maintain one data channel instead of both data channels.
And, you know, back when digital phones came out, but I'm going back like 15 years. People that were working in the industry, we had a friend that was working with Ericsson. And he was saying that there is really no reason for international fees on phone calls because it goes the same channels. It doesn't cost them any more. It's only in the States that it's costing more because of all this interconnect from one company to the other. And he said, the day will come, you'll see that it doesn't matter where in the world you call, it's going to cost you the same thing. And maybe that would bring it. But if they keep on doing, I mean, will be like using Wi-Fi. Or it should be like using Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're using the data, and what you're doing with the data, what you are shooting through the data, shouldn't make a difference to the carrier.
There's a lot going on that I wish I knew more about, because in the United States, at least with some of these new plans from AT&T, most of these carriers are going with unlimited talk.
Yeah, well, they're starting to.
Yeah,
because of competition.
The day of buying a plan with a certain number of minutes is history.
Should be. We still have it. The only reason we still have it is because I want that unlimited data, which when I'm looking at, I'm not even using.
You don't even use it.
I know.
But you have it. I'm paying $35 extra a month to maintain my unlimited data plan, and I don't even.
I know. Sooner or later, we're going to do away
It's so
with it.
slow, it's not worth using. But I'm going to be getting a new phone this year probably, so that would hopefully make it more usable with 4G or LTE or whatever it is.
And you're with who?
AT&T.
Yeah, with Verizon, I'm with Verizon, and when you get a new phone, that's it.
My plan is not capped. It is squelched theoretically when it goes above a certain level, and when it's not capped per se.
I mean, when you see those commercials for AT&T when they say that you have 10 gig
per
to
family.
Share among the family. I mean, that's great, because now when I think you're capped at 2 gig, right?
No, I have an unlimited, but the standard plan is 2 gig.
Yeah. So 10 gig for family of 4, hey, that's great, and you know that the kid is going to be using the most.
That's fine on an old phone, but on an LTE phone, I don't agree.
Okay, you'll use it faster if you are a heavy user of data. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. True.
And one of the reasons I don't use more data on my phone is because it's so darn slow. I only use it when I absolutely have to.
No, I don't. I don't watch movies on it. I don't want.
No. It's like when you're on the road and you're trying to look up the location of the nearest Home Depot.
Yeah, okay. So guess what happens this week, too? Google has overtaken rival technology titan Apple as the world's top brand in terms of value. Global market research agency Millward Brown said Wednesday. Google's brand value shot up 40% in a year to $158.84 billion. Millward Brown said in its 2014 100 top brands report. Google has been extremely innovative this year with Google Glass, investments in artificial intelligence, and the range of partnerships, which dominated the top position for 3 straight years. Apple saw its brand value fall by 20% to $147.88 billion. So Apple's value fell by 20%. And it's all because of what Google is doing as far as innovation. So it's not...
That's half of it. The other half of it is Apple's in a major dry spell right now. They haven't done anything to excite the fanboys
right.
in
That's what I'm
months.
talking about. Yeah, it's all...
Yeah. But they'll recover from that. They'll come out with something, and these little fanboys will jump up and down and scream and go buy stock.
I was reading something here, and that's very interesting about Google. Google driverless cars. Anybody seen one of those on the road?
No, but Apple stock is up 6.86. They had a 1.13% stock increase, so the company valuation probably doesn't matter. But go ahead.
So did anybody see a driverless car, a Google driverless car? I saw a Google car the other day, which looked real weird, and I was trying to keep up with it, and I couldn't. Boy, the guy was driving. But I don't know how the tower on top of the car was not swaying. I mean, it was pretty tall, and it was a small car, and it was so steady. I said, I want to see how they do that. Couldn't keep up with them on 40. So Google's driverless cars have now combined to drive more than 700,000 miles on public roads without receiving one citation.
Well, if they don't stop.
They don't stop for the cop. The Atlantic reported this week, while this raises a lot of questions about who is responsible to pay for a ticket issued to a speeding autonomous car, current California law would have the person in the driver's seat responsible, while Google has said the company that designed the car should pay the fine. It also hints at a future where local, and this is the point of the article, local and state governments will have to operate without a substantial source of revenue. Approximately 41 million people receive speeding tickets in the U.S. every year, paying out more than $6.2 billion a year. So if the car is always following the speed limit, it'll never get a citation. And that will bring down income from the local governments.
Wait a minute. Say that again. If the car doesn't violate the speed limit, the government loses money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Don't worry. You know what happens whenever you have conservation of gasoline? They raise the gas tax.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Especially in North Carolina.
Amnon, I'm here to put you at ease. Don't worry about the government. They know how to handle it.
But I'm really, I mean, does that mean that I'm going to the technical part of this. Does that mean that Google now has really driverless cars that don't have a driver in there?
I don't know. Do they have those?
It says driverless cars have now combined to drive more than 700,000 miles on public roads. But does that mean that there's somebody sitting there? Or is it really an autonomous car that just
not yet?
Well, I don't think so.
In all the reports I've seen, that the driver has been sat there so they can take control of the vehicle in an emergency situation. I can't see that they're going to give him that kind of permission and authority yet, because it's still far too early days.
I know. I mean, you try to think about it. How it takes, and what happens when the computer crashes? Does the the car stops in the middle of the highway, or does it?
Yeah, emergency
what does
stop.
it do?
I can't wait for it to actually become relevant, where you'll have certain areas where there's just driverless cars you hop on, sort of take me to work or take me to wherever it might be, and there's just a whole fleet of cars like like a railway, like
Yeah.
like carriages, and they're all talking to each other, and there's no chance of an accident, nothing. It'd be brilliant.
Yeah. It is. It's very interesting.
I heard a funny story the other day where they were saying that when this comes in, which is probably going to be in the next few years by the looks of it, I mean, not worldwide, the whole world covered with it, but it will start to come in. And somebody said it'll be amazing because you'll be able to just get into your car and say, "Take me to work," and then you'll be able to do a driving simulation game while you're going to work. So instead of actually driving yourself, you're playing a driving simulation, which will be, yeah. Never mind, that didn't go as well as I thought it was going to.
You know how it is when you sit in the passenger seat in the front car and your wife is driving, and every time the car has to come to a stop, you kind of go, "Ooh, stop already," or you react. What would happen when the car is driving by itself? Are you going to get to work and you're all stressed out?
Everyone will be a really terrible backstreet or passenger driver. Well, I wouldn't have done that, Google. I'd have indicated well before then.
Yeah, but the car will probably not talk back to you.
Yeah. Or it'll be,
I don't
no,
know.
you didn't want to take this route. You want to take the other route. There's always backup on traffic on this route.
Yeah.
Well, just think about how GPSs direct you through the wrong roads now anyway.
Please turn around.
Do a U-turn. Go 6 miles and take a left. But I'm going right here.
Let's see, what else? Chromecast is a great device and concept. However, it is more or less limited to Google's Chrome browser and supported apps. That seems to be changing. Mozilla is working on bringing Chromecast support to its Firefox browser. Mozilla meeting notes from 14 May clearly mention Chromecast support for the browser. Workweek in San Francisco making good progress, hoping to have Netcast and Chromecast support landed by the end of the week. That would be nice. Mike, are you still using the Chromecast?
No, I actually brought it up here. See,
Nick, how about you?
Hang on a minute.
Oh.
This is important. I did not have my TV downstairs is an older one,
Right.
and there were some compatibility issues between it and the Chromecast. It actually did some really funky stuff to the TV.
Oh,
So I stopped using it. Then I got a newer TV up here that has been working well, and I brought it up here. I'm going to put it on this TV because I have become a major fan of the Roku. In fact, I now have 1, 2, 3 of them, and I'm very impressed with them. And even my wife has learned how to work the Roku 3 on the TV downstairs so that she can follow the NHL games by subscribing to the NHL network. And I don't know, Nick, if this is correct, but if regular compressed TV is streaming in 1080i, I believe that this NHL video is streamed in 1080p
HLS.
with much less compression. Would that be correct?
I have no clue. I haven't looked at it.
The video quality just dwarfs the local channel, any of the other cable channels. So anyway, all that was meant to say that I'm going to be working again with the Chromecast and seeing how it goes, because when I first got it working downstairs and I would do I don't know what you call it, but you're watching something on your computer and you say throw it over to the Chromecast, the video quality was not that great. It was choppy. It was, I don't know. I didn't understand how it all worked. But now that I'm proficient with the Roku and am experienced with what it can do, I'm interested to see how that's going to compare with the Chromecast. So in the next month or so, I'll probably have a better idea.
Nick is probably going to take us live on the Roku sometime. Right, Nick?
Yep. Eventually.
But that means that there is no chat room, right?
No, there's no. I mean, no, you can't type on the Roku.
Right.
However, like right now, if we were live on the Roku, I'm watching. I have on the second, third computer over here. I have the stream.
Right.
If we had it live on the Roku, I would have it over here on the right on the TV coming through the Roku, but I would still be monitoring chat on my first computer over here. I have the stream and chat open on different computers right now, so that's not a limitation.
So you popped out the chat.
Correct.
Yeah, true. You can sit with the laptop just for the chat and watch it on the.
Mm-hmm. And it doesn't interfere with you. I mean, it's no bandwidth at all to keep chat open on a computer.
Yeah, right.
What is Wondershare DreamStream, Steve?
It's something I came across the other day. It allows you to stream anything that you've got on your computer to the Chromecast without having to open up a browser.
Wondershare is a company that does video editing and playing programs.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't got a Chromecast, so I didn't look into it that much. I just saw what that thing did, I should say, and thought, well, that sounds like a good idea. If I do get a Chromecast, I might give that a shot, see what it's like. I just wondered if anyone else had seen it and perhaps given it a try.
I've never heard of it.
Well, okay. Thank you.
Addressing the recent controversy over Netflix paying ISPs directly for better data transfer speeds, Google Director of Network Engineering explains how their fiber server handles peering. He says bringing fiber all the way to your home is only one piece of the puzzle. We also partner with content providers like YouTube, Netflix, and Akamai to make the rest of your video journey shorter and faster. This doesn't involve any deals to prioritize their video packets over others or otherwise discriminate among internet traffic. We don't do that. Like other internet providers, Google Fiber provides the last mile internet connection to your home so that your video doesn't get caught up in this possible congestion. We invite content providers to hook up their networks directly to ours. This is called peering, and it gives you a more direct connection to the content that you want. We don't make money from peering or co-location, since people usually only stream one video at a time. Video traffic doesn't bog down or change the way we manage our network in any meaningful way. So why not help enable it? So they say that they are not going to charge for quote-unquote fast lanes, which is nice. And that in the article there was a picture that shows a Google Fiber car, kind of like a minivan. And I said, okay, now we need to start looking and see if we see those cars in town.
Are these fast lanes really that big of a deal?
Only because money, the cost to us. I mean, if Netflix has to pay Verizon or whoever more money to get the faster lane, what do you think they're going to do?
Yeah, but there's a difference there. That's Netflix wants to have the fast lane.
I understand.
They're not required to buy a fast lane. So if they pass the price on us, they can go screw themselves, and I'll cancel my subscription.
Well, that's why apparently they're upping pricing, because or maybe it's a fluke that it happens at the same time. But Google Fiber is saying we're not going to charge them everybody's going to have the same. So it's nice to know.
I don't think everybody needs the same.
Yes, they do. Why not?
No, they don't. Because, when I want to watch Netflix and I have to wait 5 minutes for it to buffer so it can be as quick as every other website, that's not right.
But that's because the network is really congested. With Google Fiber, it's not going to be that congested because It's a lot
Well, correct.
faster.
I don't have Google Fiber. I don't care what the experience is with Google Fiber.
Right. So in your case, if Netflix is paying Time Warner or whoever, Comcast, for a fast lane, it will, instead of taking 5 minutes of buffering, it may take 15 seconds. You would love that.
Yeah, I hope companies like that do invest in a fast.
But will you pay more for that?
No, I won't pay more for it.
Well, I don't know how it's going to work. I mean, because they can't single out users, so it's interesting.
Simple, just cancel your subscription.
To what?
To Netflix, if they were to raise the price $2 or $3, I can get my content elsewhere.
Dan is saying, looking for opinions on the Asus Z97 motherboard. I don't know anything about it.
The Asus brands, from what I've seen, they're all pretty much good now. There are nuances between boards. Someone will say this one's better for this or better for that, but for audio and video, a Z97 motherboard would use what, an i7 3770 or 40 something. It's probably going to be a screamer.
Nick, you read a lot about motherboards and gaming.
No, I don't.
You don't?
I don't read about it. No.
Okay.
I mean, one of the worst motherboards I ever had was an
MSI.
MSI motherboard.
They're all the same garbage anyway. There's no.
They're all made in the same place in China anyway. But this particular motherboard had not been properly run over the wave soldering machine. You could take one of the electrolytic capacitors, push it slightly, and it would pull out of the hole because it didn't have enough solder on it. But absent something like that, it would probably be a really good motherboard. A Gigabyte, I had a problem with a Gigabyte motherboard, and I sent it back. And they repaired it and sent it back for free, and it still didn't work. So I got ready to throw it away, and then I found out I had the wrong processor in it. Yeah, but other than stuff like once you get them up and working, I think almost all of them work well. I read a magazine called CPU that goes into all that stuff. And the differences are very, it's kind of like microphones. For the average person, the differences are so subtle they're almost unnoticeable. But I suspect it's probably a good one. The question would be more so: does it have the sockets do you want? Will it go to 32 gig memory or more? Does it have how many memory sockets does it have? A lot of these motherboards now are putting 4 sockets on it, and 8 gigabyte RAM modules are a whole lot more expensive than 2 4 gigabyte modules in most cases. And RAM, I don't know why RAM's so expensive right now, but it's $159 to add 16 gigabytes to a motherboard.
That's also the faster memory.
Don't know.
If you're a business, listen to this. Google said it plans to lease commercial-grade Wi-Fi equipment at a discount to small and medium-sized businesses like gyms, restaurants, and doctors' offices. Tech website, the information reported on Wednesday. The Mountain View, California company plans to offer the Wi-Fi hotspots, which will use businesses' existing internet connections, as early as this summer in the U.S. and abroad. Google also plans to offer Wi-Fi hotspots in areas where Google Fiber is available as it rolls out its own internet and television service. Google Access team will implement the new Wi-Fi leasing plan. The team is responsible for developing technologies and business models to expand internet access in a financially sustainable and scalable way to impact hundreds of millions of people. That's nice. I mean, if you're having a problem in your office, if you have a big office and Wi-Fi is kind of funky because with today's equipment, unless you have somebody doing your IT and they go and they put access points in different places and it can be a mess. Get in touch with Google, or go ahead and Google on it. And it's called commercial grade Wi-Fi. That's nice that they're doing it, but of course, it's going to help them at the end of the line.
Yeah.
Mike, you didn't hear anything about fiber in our area.
Not lately.
Did anybody hear about fiber coming to their area or seen something happening if it was already announced?
Yeah, they're burying it in Wake Forest.
Who?
This new company. So
Oh,
who is
RTS.
it? Somebody here was telling us about it.
RST, RTS, can't remember. Yeah.
Everywhere I look all around me, they've got fiber broadband, and fiber broadband is here on all the fiber boxes and things, but not here. I'm sure they're doing it just to be evil.
I thought it was Brent. Brent has seen the trucks. In fact, he sent us a link to a picture where they were burying the fiber over in Wake Forest.
Are you talking about RTS or RST? I can't remember. Or Google, Brent?
It's not Google.
Huh?
It's not Google.
Okay.
Google has not started building the fiber network here. They're not even supposed to announce whether they're going to do it until December.
Well, they may know already what they're going to do, and they're going to do quietly and do it.
Nah, I don't think
RTS.
so.
Okay.
But they also, remember, we saw an article not too long ago that AT&T supposedly has learned how to use its UVerse network to provide 1 gigabit internet with its existing facilities. No need to bury new fiber.
Right.
We'll see. You know what? Who cares?
I do.
Well, you have a much greater need for it than I do. What I have now works. Is it overpriced? Yes. Is it a consumer grade service? Yes. If I were buying a new house in an area that had Google Fiber available, that would absolutely unequivocally impact my decision on where to buy a house. But am I going to get bent out of shape about it at this age and point in my life? No.
The only problem is Google Fiber is not going to come to Raleigh if RTS does.
That's not true.
I disagree 100%.
That's okay, because that's not what's happening in Austin. These guys are racing to see who can get it in the ground first and get the people lit up first. That's what.
Yeah, but if RTS is already working on the infrastructure and they're already going to have it in the ground before Google announces, they'll go somewhere else where they're guaranteed that all the customers will go to them.
Well, see, actually, Nick, what you're saying was the mindset that they had, what was it, Amnon, 2 or 3 years ago, whenever Kerry was competing for the Kansas City build-out.
Right.
And that was the mindset at the time. But now, actually, Google and AT&T and several other companies have looked at the growth patterns in the United States and determined which are the most technologically advancing cities. They're actually, and here's why I would disagree with you. Google is actually looking at the 10-year or 20-year payback as opposed to the 1 or 2 year payback, because in my mind, in my opinion, that Google's going to look at a company like RTS Fiber. Yeah, they're going to beat us to the punch. They're going to be there first. But you know what? We'll come in and we'll put those little dogs out of business.
Yeah.
Long term, we will win. So I disagree with you that that'll discourage them.
And a lot of people, look, Nick, a lot of people will go with Google or with AT&T, even if they are later, just because of the name. There's a lot of people that say, who? RTS? No, I know AT&T. I'm going to go with AT&T. I mean,
go ahead.
It's there's room for 3 or 4. I mean, in your area, I understand you have Time Warner and there's no competition. A lot of places do have competition. I mean, we have 2 of them in our area. We have in some cities have even 3. Nobody's getting out of that city because now you have to show that you can provide more at a better price and you gain customers. If the case was that if Google saw that nobody's going, that somebody's beating them to the punch, we will only have one grocery store in town.
But right now, Amnon, where we are, even though there is competition technically, and you can switch, even though there's technically competition, they're both offering the same thing.
Right.
There's no reason to switch.
Correct.
If AT&T or Time Warner right now would say, oh, okay, we're going to give you 100 megabit up and down for the same price, you would see an exodus so dramatic they'd have to bring in contractors to handle the transition.
Absolutely. He's trying to tell me to switch. The thing is that you can really Time Warner is offering the best service at this point. Speed. Let's put it, not service. Speed.
Say that again.
Time Warner is offering the fastest speed in our area.
Oh, okay.
I keep getting calls from Uverse, from AT&T, and I said, well, what speeds can you give me? And they back and forth from 3 to 6. And when you start pushing, they're more into the 3 than the 6. They don't know. It's amazing to me that they don't know what they can do for you. And the down speed is 12 and 18, and sometimes you hear 45. And I said, really, 45? She said, yeah. I said, find out for real how much it is. And she'll come back and say, oh, no, we can give you 18.
Uh-huh.
Well, come on. It's your service. You should know.
They don't.
Where the boxes are. And I said, the boxes across the street. I was told I'm going to be, no, we can't do more than 18. And your up speed is going to be 3. Well, thank you very much. Time Warner does better than that. So there's room for growth on for both of them or all 3 of them. And yes, if AT&T figures it out, they can come up with 100 megabit or a gigabit in no time because the cable is already in the ground. Same thing with Time Warner. We see all these commercials about them having 100 megabits. Well, nobody's talking about the up speed.
Because nobody uses up speed.
Well, it doesn't matter. They
Yes, it does.
Well, I don't know that anybody at home needs to go from 30 to 100.
90% of their customers don't give 2 craps about up speed.
Right. Well, and a lot of them don't care about what down speed they have.
No, that's false.
No, it's not false. You'll be surprised how many people...
The people that are watching Netflix know that they need better internet. They don't use up speed. They don't need up speed to...
People that have their basic plan, which is 7 megabits down, I think, at this point.
No, it's like 20 now.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Well,
the basic plan used to be 15 by 1.
Maybe in your area, not here.
I'm curious what it is here. Let's look it up.
I
don't know. It's definitely not 7. I know for a fact. It's never been 7 here. And I doubt it would be 7.
And businesses. There. I just had a call from Time Warner Business Class, and I said, okay, so what do you offer me? He said, 15, or maybe that's where I got the 7. And 768 up.
Yeah, well, business...
Give me a break.
That ought to be illegal.
The business is always lower speed.
Business is the one that needs the up speed. Sending files, spreadsheets,
Backups.
Reports, where people really don't.
Yeah, but you get the extra support with business, that's why.
Well, don't give me the support. Give me the speed.
Again, you're in the minority.
A what?
You're in the minority.
A lot of people that I ask on the phone, a customer, when they say, I can't, this is slow, I say, what kind of speed do you have? I say, I don't know. I've got Time Warner.
Yeah, exactly. But people don't know. So if people don't know, how can they know what they want? For people to know that they want bigger upload speed, they have to have some type of clue what's going on.
So for $35 a month, Time Warner offers up to 15 megabytes down and upload speeds up to 1 megabyte.
Yeah, that's the basic plan, 15 by 1.
15.1.
But they have the $19.90 or $14.95. What does that do? All that thing about the girl hanging the DSL router around the bride's neck, and the coach comes in and said, now you can get, for $14.95, you get internet service. And that's not a promotional, that's not, they're supposed to have $14.95 internet service.
I don't see it listed here. They probably have to, it's one of those deals you probably have to call and ask for it. But also they have 30 by 5 is $55 a month.
Oh, so that went down.
Yeah, it's $5 discount for doing it online from $59. Which if you call up and complain, they probably give you the discount. But mine is only about $48 for some reason. They just went up from $48 to $62 on the TV, but the internet is about $48. And then they also have the 50 by 5, which is $65 a month. But here's my question. In those areas where, let's say, 30 by 5 or 50 by 5 are available, what percentage of the Time Warner customers have gone with the higher speeds?
5 or 10%.
Is it that low?
Yeah, Mike, nobody knows. Nobody has any clue what the internet speeds are. Nobody has any clue.
Right, but if is a 15 by 1 connection totally adequate for Netflix?
Well, it depends. Now,
15 is enough for Netflix. Come
15
on.
by 1. Let me finish. I'm not. 15 by 1 is an adequate speed, but you take when your neighborhood is congested at 7 o'clock at night, it might not be. 15 by if you look at the speeds, 15 by 1, that is enough to stream Netflix. But when you've got 20 other people in a neighborhood streaming Netflix at 7 o'clock, 15 by 1 is not adequate.
And I don't
to stream
think
Netflix.
if you had a gigabit down, it'll make a difference. Because if the network is saturated to a point that 20 people in the neighborhood are doing it, that means that their DSLAM is, the node is overworked.
Of course it's overpowered.
And
Yeah.
they have
but
to
not
up
at
that.
1 gigabit. I disagree if you're 1 gigabit because the percentage, for example, and I'm making these numbers up because I don't know what they are, but let's assume you've got a 15 megabit connection and Netflix is using 10 of it. That's 2/3 of your available bandwidth. However, if you've got a 1 gigabit connection, then 10 megabit, they're still using 10 megabit down, and it's still not going to be that large of the available bandwidth. So I would think the likelihood of a problem would decline only because this very same argument was made to me by Time Warner whenever before they went with DOCSIS 3.0, we would complain that we would have congestion issues. I mean, it was really, really bad. And when the guy told me, one of the guys who knew what he was talking about, he said that whenever DOCSIS 3.0 is rolled out, he said, you are never going to see any network congestion because you would not believe how much capacity we have in switching to DOCSIS 3.0, even though the bandwidth is limited by the modem.
Right. And that's where, Nick, that's where I disagree and I say 15 is enough. Because if there's one customer in the neighborhood that has a gigabit, that means everybody enjoys the capacity to download, because now, when before you had, let's say, 100 megabit and everybody had 20, that means 5 people will choke that if they're downloading continuously.
I'm not following what you're saying, Amnon.
Do what?
I'm not following what you're
Okay.
saying. If
what
one
I'm saying
person in
is
the neighborhood has a gigabit,
what I'm saying is like this: take a water hose at 4 inches, okay, and that can generate, if you put one faucet on it, 100 gallons a minute. Now, I want, and you want, and Mike want, each one of us has to have a faucet on that line, and we want 100 gallons a minute. At a certain point, so many people are going to open that faucet that the 4-inch cannot provide that 100 gallons a minute of water. But now, one customer comes in and says, I want to have 1,000 gallons a minute. So what they do is they upgrade that 4-inch pipe to a 10-inch pipe. So that guy somewhere along the line can get those 1,000 gallons a minute.
That doesn't make any sense.
But wait a second. No, that's how it works.
Yes, but you're saying one person in the neighborhood is getting gigabit. Who's providing the gigabit?
Now, wait a second. We're talking about, do people subscribe or not? If there is Google, if Time Warner comes up with 1 gigabit and I buy it, and I say, yes, I want a gigabit up and down, they have to upgrade the line from their facilities all the way down the road.
I disagree.
To me, how they do it?
Flick a switch. How do they get you from 15 by 5 to 30 by, or how do they get you from 15 to 1 to 30 to 5?
They updated the fiber that was buried. We saw them there. And if they don't, they still have to make that the ability.
Amnon, this is kind of getting off on a tangent, but you're both right on one thing, and that is to go from 15 to 30 with the 1 megabit up. They actually had to go from DOCSIS 2.0 to DOCSIS 3.0, which required new hardware, new servers, new everything. Right. But then Nick is absolutely correct in going from 30 to 50. All they do is flip a switch because that's a governor.
I understand, but think about what I'm saying here. If the line that takes me from the house to their facilities, and I'm not talking about the node, the facilities, is only 100 megabit. I have 50. You have 10. Mike has 15. Before you know it, it gets to the point that I cannot get the 50 because people are robbing it along the not robbing it, but people are using the same line,
consuming it, and that's the way congestion works.
But in order for me to be able to get 50, now they're going to have to make the pipe fatter all the way so I can be serviced. The people with 15 are not going to see congestion anymore.
But Amnon, what you're saying is you're not making any sense when you're saying one person gets gigabit. It doesn't make any sense.
Why?
Who is giving the one person gigabit? Time Warner?
Yeah.
Why are they only giving one person gigabit?
Because nobody else wants it. Look, we were early. I mean, in the beginning when we got.
Why would nobody else want it?
Wait. Because of what you said. Because people don't care.
He's saying when it happens.
No.
Nick.
I'm following.
My people don't care is between 15 and 30 down.
I understand.
My people don't care is between 15 and a gigabit. That is not the argument I made.
I'm saying that, and I'm taking what Mike was saying, that is 15 enough for Netflix. It is enough if there's no congestion. And today there may be congestion because the pipe is shared between a lot of people who have 15. Okay, 100 megabit is full. Now there's congestion.
Yeah, but you're also assuming that everybody's using 15 megabits at the exact same time.
I am assuming that, and that's what you're saying. If everybody at 7 o'clock, you said, is using Netflix, then everybody is using it. That's when you create congestion. And the number may be, it may take 100 people at 15 to do it. I don't know the formula.
Yorvik says it's contention, not congestion.
But when you fattening the line that is running on the side of...
But you're fattening the line for one person. You are not fattening the line for everybody else.
Oh, you have no. That's not true, Nick. Because if you're fattening the line from the node to me, then I can go.
What is the node to you? What kind of
the
connection
node
is
it's
that?
at the street here. It's not even 1
Yes,
mile.
I'm saying, what kind of connection is that?
I have no
is that a-
idea.
Is that a
at this
copper
point,
connection?
It's coax. It's all coax.
Okay,
Well, coax
so-
and fiber. I'm sorry.
Well, is it coax or fiber?
Correct. Nick, think about it this way. If I want to go and buy 1,000 gallons of gas at the gas station, okay? The gas station has to have a tank that contains at least 1,000 gallons. Otherwise, I'm going to get to 400 gallons and I'm going to run out.
I agree, Amnon, but how do you know that that's not different equipment?
I don't know that, but
So
what I
it-
do know about the cable structure is that it's shared. That there's
I'm
one
not
line.
arguing that it's shared.
There's one line that comes to the node, and everybody
be-
is sharing that node.
That's with conventional copper cable. How?
No,
I do not believe
no.
it's the same way with fiber.
No, the way that they're fixing it with fiber, or well, you don't get fiber to the house. You get coax to the house.
Correct.
You get fiber from the node to the node, and from the node to the house, it's copper. It's coax, which is copper. But what comes into the node cannot be limited to that one user. It's for everybody. What limits you is your modem at that point. If you don't want 50 or if you don't want 100 megabits, your modem limits it to the certain speed.
Hey, Amnon,
Yeah,
Google Fiber does not give you coax to your house.
I know. They give you fiber. But Google Fiber also doesn't run a fiber for each customer. They run one fiber to a central location, which is probably in your neighborhood, and from there, they branch out.
Okay, so if that is the case, then how is one person getting a fiber run to their house on different hardware going to make everybody else that's got 15 by 1's internet quicker? It's not, because it's using
No.
different
Wait a
box.
second. Wait, I did not say it's going to make it quicker. I said it's going to eliminate the congestion.
I don't think so.
I know so.
How? That
Because
doesn't make
that's
any
how
sense.
it works. That's how it works also in ISP world. If you have a pipe that is 10 megabits wide, you can only service so many people. But if you go and you make it 100 megabits, there's a lot more people that can go, even though their modem on their side limits them to 5 megabits. The fact that you now are, it's like you are connected to, let's take it again with water because it's more understandable to a lot of people, is if you take a 10-inch pipe and you put a 1/4-inch pipe on it for your water, at this point, it's going to take thousands of people before your water pressure goes down. While before, when it was 4-inch water pipe and you had a 1/4-inch coming out of it, it may take 100 people before it says, okay, 100 people, you're already using all the available water that's in that pipe. It's just a matter of, it's really not, it's not math, but it's understanding how it works. With DSL, it's different because DSL now, you're going all the way to the central office on your own circuit, so to speak. So now you're limited by what the central office in your area has. And if there are 500 people, why do you think not everybody can get DSL, even though it's in your neighborhood and they can't get it? It's because it's not available, and it's also the line can only support so many channels at a time.
Amnon,
Yes,
can we change subjects?
absolutely.
Okay, because
No,
we don't have
I
much
wanted
time.
I wanted Nick to understand this,
Well,
but it's fine. We can talk about it on a hangout or something.
yeah, because I think you guys are really agreeing more than you think you are. But anyway, I wanted to bring up something that unfortunately I cannot adequately explain, but it is something that's going to impact us potentially, and it has to do with the FCC is trying to recapture spectrum and auction it off so that they can raise money for the government. And what this means is, I'm going to read this. It's not very well written, even though the guy who wrote it is an attorney. But he said the Federal Communications will not value broadcast spectrum based on stations' enterprise value, but could take into account the cost of repacking the outlet, according to Tom Wheeler, the chairman of the FCC. So, in other words, they'll tell WCBS television in New York to move back to Channel 2 and run 1,000 watts output power and just pay them those costs for moving while they sell their present spectrum or their present channel to the telephone companies for big numbers. And what they are saying is that the FCC, based on what I'm reading, and it's not complete and it's very poorly written for an attorney, but what they're saying is the FCC wants to take the present on-the-air or OTA broadcast spectrum and resell it to for more efficient uses, like to Google or someone for broadband or whatever. And they're going to try to buttonhole these television stations into lower bandwidth. And what they're saying, another guy who is also he's a broadcast consultant, so what he's saying has some credibility. He said there is the latest scuttlebutt about packing TVs into 5 megahertz channels, so to align them with 5 megahertz wide LTE channels, and in theory, mobile TV using the more worldwide accepted DVB replacing the ADV as used here. We'd be able to add 1 TV channel for every 5 presently. What they're saying is that the analog TV channels are 6 megahertz wide. HD TV requires more bandwidth than SD TV does. And what they're saying here is that there is a technical move afoot to put television into a 5 megahertz wide channel. There's a recently quietly passed statute that removes TV from the T-band, which is 470 to 512 megahertz, in the next 5 years for broadband. That what that means is that UHF channels 38 to 51 would go away. Channels 14 to 20 are already going away. Ultimately, what this all means is that 4K and higher are going to be limited to closed circuit operating models, which probably means satellite distribution to cable companies. On-the-air television will be 720 and never be able to increase.
Not even 1080?
Nope. Well, now they're only 1080i anyway, which is the same as 720p.
Yeah, but
in terms of quality.
But you would think that it'll go a little bit better. Interesting.
Nope. What they're saying is the government is taking what, in my mind, what's being said behind closed doors is that it needs to be satellite and cable, that over-the-air television is not important. Nick complains a lot about the compression of video on cable companies and so forth, and he's absolutely correct. It's horrible. And what this says is because of the limitation of wireless spectrum that the problem's going to get worse, not better.
Wow.
I mean, there's a long discussion here about it, and I really don't understand it, and there's often a lot. I mean, one of the guys here who's a tech guy says to the comment, over the air will be 720 and that's it. And he said, well, that explains why the output of my HD set-top tuner looks almost as good as my 600-line Trinitron SD broadcast production monitor as it does on my HD flat screen.
Everybody that takes HD TV off the air says that the picture is much better than what they see on cable.
It's not compressed, as compressed.
Right.
He says that another guy says here that, and this guy's been in the business for years, he says the telephone companies and electric utilities are making a fortune by removing and selling their copper inventory.
To who?
Whoever recycles copper.
Oh.
Anyway, I probably
let's-
need to go.
What?
I probably need to go, so I'm going to dig out at the moment. You guys can carry on. But
Well, it's
I've
almost
got-
time anyway.
Yeah,
Nick,
but
do
I
we
will
have
be back
more stuff
in
to
about
talk
15 minutes. So if you're here, fine. If not, I'll catch you later.
about? We can end now.
It's up to you.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Nick, anything else you want to talk about?
Nope.
Are you going to feel better?
Oh, probably not. No, not until school starts.
See? I shouldn't have asked him.
See what?
It's right away. Probably not. Yeah, probably yes.
I don't know.
You know what? I can promise you one thing. You're gonna feel better and better.
Well, that is not. It has not been the case so far. It's been 3 days, and I felt worse every day.
Well,
so
I didn't say how long it's going to take, but you're going to feel better and better.
I'm
Maybe
sure I'll feel fine Tuesday morning.
probably.
Nick, I can promise you one thing as well. You are eventually going to die. Just deal with it.
Ooh,
If that doesn't make you feel better, I don't know what will.
yeah. All right. Well,
Jorvik, I'll catch you on Skype in a sec.
it's been fun. I
Thank
would like
you.
to know why there are more people on Bamboozer than there are on Vaughn.
Because the Bamboozer numbers probably aren't accurate at all.
Oh yeah, that's good
Vaughan
point.
has
I just
been
switched
hovering.
over to
Good point.
Bamboozer Amnon. There's 2 people watching.
Oh, I was doing
Vaughan's
it
been
earlier, and there
hovering
were like
around.
20 some earlier.
Yeah.
4 to 6
saying,
on Vaughan
what?
has been hovering.
And I don't know why Daily Motion doesn't show how many.
Don't know. Anyway,
It's interesting
have a
that people are-
wonderful week.
You too, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll try and be on time next week.
And everybody also have a memorable Memorial Day. All right. Let's do this. That's not it. Yeah, it is. All right. Good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Dana. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. While you're at it, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tomorrow morning, actually, it's going to be at 9:30, Health In show, because I have to be downtown at 12 for a ceremony. So 9:30 is Health In. No breaking free show at 1. But Tanya is going to be here at 7. Have a great Memorial Day. Enjoy yourself. Stay safe. Talk to you.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. That VidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.